Are we stream? Oh, I'm not going to mute the mic. Fuck it. You all can hear it. I don't care. I am who I am. But here's a 2-minute timer because even though we're late, I'm still an asshole. Suck it up. And cue some music. Fade in. Nope. Bad at this. Shit. What'd you all have for breakfast? Oh, fuck. I haven't eaten today. Holy shit. I should eat something. No, I'll do it after the show. I'll be fine. What'd you all have for breakfast? I had a friend post this like blueberry oatmeal thing on. It looked straight up like throw up. Look, it was disgusting. Yeah, call in 720-619-2288. We're talking about purity culture. We're talking about deconstruction. We're talking about leaving fundamentalist religion, Christianity. Well, I don't give a... We'll talk about stuff. But first, Eve and I are going to chat. I'm going to introduce you to this person. She's awesome. She's very impressive. She should take all of my subscribers. And I should sort of fade away into the forest. Nobody even sees. Like I just walk off into the forest and I fade away like a ghost, like at the end of a movie, and I'm finally at peace. That would be amazing. I'd be content with this outcome. It is not copyright free music. This is copyright full music. I have a license. How dare you misrepresent? Don't do that to me. 20 seconds, y'all. With me not able to shut up, one might ask, why the fuck are we waiting in the first place? It's kind of a punishment, just to show you all that I have the power here. This is a dictatorship. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. And then this is the part where the guest freestyle raps and tells everybody, no, I'm just kidding.
Great.
That's too quick of a fade off. I think I addressed this in a past show. I feel like I want the music for longer. I want a small dance party at the beginning of the show and get going. I don't know.
It's really nice music.
Somebody's asking to start with a Trump voice. I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't do things for free. Put it in a super chat. We'll see. Everybody, welcome to this very special episode of HOSTility, which is something that I'm probably going to say about every episode of HOSTility, and yet I still independently feel it every time because I'm getting to be joined by people I just like so much and am so impressed by. Tonight, I am joined by Eve of Eve Was Framed fame. You are an Instagram and TikTok sort of deconstruction. I'm just going to keep using words that I hate that describe me too.
Great.
And I bet you hate them too. What's it like
tell you I do.
to be a deconstruction influencer? What's it like?
I hate that word so much.
So do I. So do I.
Yeah, I love the opportunity I have though to connect with people. I didn't have that at all. I was completely alone when I was leaving religion and when I was deconstructing it wasn't even a thing to have like a deconstruction influencer. To me, I just feel like I'm just a person that's here being loud about it and it's resonated with people. So I love it.
I was talking about this the other day where like this is what I do for a living, but it's also the rest of my life too. Like it's my friends are people in this world. Like the people I spend my private time with are like, yes, I do have some biological family in the area and I do like them. And that's funny enough. My brother Jason was the one who like, when I was first like, yeah, I'm going to start this YouTube channel. I'm going to call it Dear Mr. Atheist. And I'm doing videos like these. And he like tempered my expectations. He was like, listen, like, you know that a lot of people do it. They never get views. And that's all true. I'm one of those, like, you know, those assholes who know they're going to make it and then do. And you're like, I actually hate that you did. I hate that people know who you are because you were so sure of it. I was kind of that asshole because I was like, why are no atheist YouTubers good at producing? Like, why does all of their content look like it was shot on a fucking potato? And so I was like, I know I can put two words together. Anyway, I feel that I now recognize other YouTubers and content creators and people who I kind of think I know where they're going to go. And you're one of the people that, as I was looking through your stuff, I was like, she's going to take off. This is going to explode. And I'm going to become her friend now. So she feels guilty about forgetting about me when she's big. When you leave me in the dust. Yeah.
I wouldn't feel guilty. You're just a good friend to have.
No. I'm talking, you're gonna like, you'll be off in like fucking with Vsauce and Hank Green, that level is, and I'm gonna be, you're gonna be like,
so kind.
You're gonna be like, I can't remember who Jimmy Snow is, but he just texted me. I swear that name, Jimmy Snow, some asshole. I don't know. I'm all left unread. No. I'm kidding. But those are the people I'm like surrounding myself with now too. Like Forrest. I told him the same thing. I was like, best. Forrest, I as a person, I love Forrest, and I've been starting to get to interact with him and his wife. They're both just so fucking nice that I just want to like infiltrate their little family and get adopted by these people who are younger than me. It's a whole strange thing. But enough about me and how cool I think everybody I get to chat with on here is. Let me first say, if you want to talk, we're going to be talking tonight about deconstructing purity culture, but we'll also talk about whatever else related to atheism, theism, whatever. You can call with any topic, but purity culture is sort of the main topic. The phone number is down there. There's also a web link in the description, 720-619-2288. You can call in and we'll be taking those calls. But go ahead and tell people like who you are, what motivates you, some things about your past, the things that you want to share. Let's hit those headlines.
Yeah, I was raised, for those who don't know, in an evangelical, non-denominational household. My parents were pastors, missionaries. I was homeschooled. I was a worship leader starting when I was a teenager, so I did the whole thing. I got married really young at 19. All purity culture was the root of that happening. And I went on to go to a ministry school called Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry, which if you know about it, it is as fucking crazy as it sounds.
Yeah.
And I was a worship leader there. Yeah, it sounds like Harry Potter shit. And it basically is, but way less cool. So
you were a worship leader at Bethel?
At their school of ministry, I was. Yeah, that was the last thing I did before I got the fuck out of everything. I got a one-way flight. I moved to the other side of the country, and I realized I finally got down to the last question I had in my deconstruction, which was, is there a God? And I came to the conclusion that I had no reason to believe that there was. So that's roughly when I started over. And
so are you motivated at all by that like history of being a worship leader that you... The reason I ask is I have this issue with, I never went on a mission formally as a Mormon, but before I left, I substitute taught seminary for my dad, who was a seminary teacher, but I also would go on what are called exchanges with the existing missionaries, which is basically where you drive around your missionaries to people who are thinking about it, and you go into their houses and you participate in the pretending to be a super happy person, and boy, you got to join our cult right now. But on top of that, I also like had friends who were like inactive Mormons that I encouraged to come back to church. And so I've participated in the reconversion and conversion of people to Mormonism. And of all the people that by some extension I did that to, I know at least 3 of those people are still active participating members. And I think about those 3 all the time. And literally, I'm now up to thousands of specifically Mormon emails where people say, like, you helped me leave Mormonism. You helped me leave Mormonism. And it still doesn't feel balanced. I'm wondering if you've had any of that same experience thinking about your own, like, are you motivated to create and do things? Is any of that because of the way you used to affirm people's faith that you want to basically do the opposite?
For sure. I think that's a big part of it. I mean, I realized kind of all at once the bullshit that was happening, and I felt like I had been used to scam people, essentially. I had been scammed, but I had also been put on a pedestal, and I'd been given a platform, and I was good at what I did. And so I did feel like I scammed people, and that is definitely a motivating factor to want to kind of right those wrongs in a way. I've worked really hard on forgiving myself for that, and I've grown past a lot of that being my motivation. But also it was motivation driven from having been I was raised by Christian nationalists as well, and dominionists. So we're supposed to be the best of the best and take over the world and, rise to the top of the mountain of entertainment and media and politics and all of that. And so I was like, I have this skill set and I was raised to have a voice, and I'm not going to use it for bullshit anymore. So can I use it for truth? And can I use it to help other people that are being lied to or that feel alone in this? So I think that's the main motivating factor for me.
When you say you were raised Christian nationalist, is it that the church and organization that you're in is very Christian nationalist, or is that more local to, because you sound like you come from the fundamentalist end where you can kind of call everything cult or cult-like. And one thing that a lot of people who come from cults know is you're never in one cult. You're often in the cult, and then your family is a separate cult. And then there might be a cult of the local Boy Scout group, which also was a thing we had to deal with. I doubt you did. But was it the main cult or your family cult, or where was the Christian nationalism most coming from?
It was mostly, it happened a little bit later in life. I mean, I don't know. It was sprinkled all throughout. I think it was the general culture of the non-denominational evangelicalism. It's a big part of that more right-wing thinking, obviously. So, and it's subtle. I mean, the family members and all that would deny and say we're not Christian nationalists and all of that, but it checks all the boxes. So I don't think it was the church so much as it was like the family culture and how I was taught to think about politics and all of the things that come with Christian nationalism, like influencing others. So
I wonder, because there's this funny thing that happens to a lot of us when we leave, where it's like the atheism is one of the things we come out as, but then there are these other layers of things. So like, my family was like most offended by the atheism, then like less offended by the queer coming out. Like honestly, they were like, "Oh, good, now we can just blame it on that. You're just some fucking pervert now. Now that'll just be everything." And then I'm like, really, it's becoming radical as far as how far left I am now. I'm like an just super socialist. And that's the thing I think they hate the most. They're like, that specific part of your identity is what repulses us the most. Is there, are there any things like that? Do you feel like they feel more betrayed by the fact that you don't believe in Jesus, or that maybe you don't believe the Constitution is divinely inspired now? Maybe you still do. I doubt it. As an atheist, I don't know how you would, but what are the things that your old life, like the old you, actually would be even a better question. What if you talk to like 20-year-old you, what things about you now would disappoint her the most?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, the whole belief in a God thing. I think it's interesting because I did progress over time. So starting in my 20s, I went to college, I took a class on feminism, and suddenly a lot of questions started occurring, and I started progressing. And, you make friends with people that are queer or that, or just believe differently than you. And you like these people. And so you have to respect them. You do respect them. And so you have to open your mind. So I don't think 20-year-old me would be that upset or shocked by a lot of the major changes I've made. I think she would probably be really happy at the freedom that I have, because I think it was, there were things that I was already just forcibly denying myself for years and years and years. But the belief in a God and trusting that there's like this higher power looking out for me, I think that would be the most devastating, to not have that to cling to, because that is what got me through a lot of the most difficult parts of Christianity. The cure was the disease and vice versa. So I think that's what would be most upsetting. My family, they're QAnoners, and so they seem to be more deeply upset that I have not like taken the pill and that I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think that bothers them more even than my lack of faith.
Right.
Maybe not, but that's what seems to come across as their primary difference with how I think now.
Are they full QAnon or Alex Jones? Where are they coming down?
From what I know, we don't talk about it as much anymore, but like full on Q, like all as wild of conspiracy theories as you can get. They're over there. People don't know who my dad is, and I purposefully don't say his name. And if people figure it out, it is what it is. But I don't put it out there for my own privacy's sake. But he's, we talked about it. He's on Right Wing Watch. He's one of those. He's called a Trump prophet. So, they're pretty far down that alt-right conspiracy pipeline.
Yeah, it's funny because my mother just repeats what Fox News tells her. And so it's pretty much whatever Tucker Carlson believes, my mother believes. And so my dad is actually like, it's really weird. It's this weird fucking thing where it's like the main reasons why our family didn't work is because my dad's method of like learning how to run a family, his two influences were the Mormon church and the mob, like the mob. And so it's like, I always tell this story to people. We were talking a little bit before the show about this book I was writing that I had to put on hold because I'm like, people will just go murder my family if I tell them what they did. But like, we had like crazy shit that one of the number one red flags to my therapist is always like, yeah. And then like growing up, we had this thing where we had to recite occasionally the number one family rule is loyalty, which is like, why do you have to recite that as a rule? It's because you don't plan to earn it. And at some point you don't want this guy to go to the cops. Like that's the funniest thing where it's like, we are Mormons. So our whole thing is about love and family. And don't you fucking call the cops, even if somebody's beating the shit out of you. Except for they don't say fucking. It's the most annoying thing in the world because they talk like mobsters, my family, especially my dad. They talk like mobsters when they're trying to intimidate you, except they don't swear at all. And they don't say anything like...
That's the coolest fucking part about it.
It's like, no, you want it. You almost want it. Yeah. It's like, how do you think that you're better than a person who swears? Where you're almost like implying there's a line at which you'd murder me right now. Like... But you think you're better because you didn't say fucking. Like, it's specifically that you think you're better than other people for that reason. That's
wild.
It's just wild. Hey, that number, by the way, 720-619-2288. Let me know if anybody's tried to call in. Usually we have full lines by now. Maybe everybody's very entertained by the conversation as it is, because it is very entertaining. But I'm starting to actually suspect that something's broken because no one has called yet. And that's very surprising. Usually all full lines would be full. No one, I think they're terrified of you. And I know they're afraid of me. Theists have given up. Theists have given up on winning. They know it'll never happen. Not when they call me. Anyway. Yes, please don't go off in the chat trying to speculate about who her dad might be. It's Donald Trump. This is...
Yeah, you guys got it.
It's Eve Trump. That's the full name.
That's my actual name. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my God. I see. That would be fine by me because my family is as bad as that family, but at least I'd be rich. Like I'd trade it, right?
Fair point. You could get a book deal in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Oh man, definitely. That would be tremendous. Tremendous. Yeah. Bringing up the whole thing about the Christian nationalism was because Mormonism is Christian nationalist, American Christian nationalist by nature, including if you are not American yourself.
Correct. Yeah.
Because you start like worship, your worship points are like Salt Lake City. You think that the Garden of Eden is in Jackson County, Missouri.
That is truly wild.
It's insane. Mormons decided to make Christianity so American that they created a book that claims to be the history of the American continent, where 600 years before Jesus, some Jews were like, I got to get out of this Jerusalem. I can't, it's going to be destroyed. And they don't mind the fact that that didn't happen, even though in their book it did. So this like thing we can verify didn't happen is like what the whole thing is rooted on. But then beyond that, these Jews go to the American continent. They become the Native Americans. The reason why they're dark skinned is they're cursed for sinning. And then Jesus, while he's dead as a ghost, visits America and then comes back after he's resurrected and visits again.
That's very Christian nationalist of him.
It's literally like the most important place in the world in Mormonism is America. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is I think that's the future of families and people like yours and QAnon and shit. I think Mormonism is going to, as all of this like fascist pro-American stuff goes on and all of this fucking like glorifying this idea of America and trying to make it more imbued with a duty to God, you can't get more American patriotic than the Mormon church. And I legitimately think at some point, some people are like, wait a second. The Mormons, while they're doing some things to try and seem more like PR relatable, in this day and age, they're still not budging on like trans people being respected as their identities. They're not budging on queer people being able to participate and live queerly, if you will. They're not budging on this stuff. And Jesus becomes a little bit American. We can super say he's white in this religion. Like he's always depicted as my old Mr. Atheist persona is closer to what Mormons believe Jesus looked like than what Jesus actually looked like. Fucking insane. I actually think there's going to be at some point Mormonism is going to go, hey fascists, we made this church for you. And I think it's going to like surge. And I think your dad's going to be into it. I think Christian nationalists are going to be into it.
Mormon.
Yeah. How did your family feel about? I'm sure it came up at some point. Were they on the list of people who are going to hell?
We didn't do a lot of talk about heaven, who's going to heaven and who's going to hell, but we did a lot of like who's a true Christian talks. And Mormons were not on that list.
Yeah.
Catholics weren't on that list.
But then Donald Trump wasn't on that list once upon a time, and now he's the chosen one.
Right. Not only is he on the list, he's helping Jesus write the list, apparently. Right. So that makes a lot of sense.
Like, think about before Donald Trump entered politics and stuff, and just the things we knew about him, like fucking porn stars and having multiple wives and all that shit. How would your family, what's more a stretch? Your family suddenly thinking that he is the chosen one, or that Mormons are Christian and maybe they have some good ideas.
Right.
I'm just saying. I think I think it's coming. Your dad's going to be a Mormon one day.
You're not wrong.
He's going to call you.
Like 2025 bingo list.
Yeah. By then he's going to call you. He's like, I've put up with you saying a lot of things, but I heard you said you agreed that I was going to be a Mormon one day. And how dare
That's
you?
the worst thing. Yeah. Oh man.
Dare you?
It is funny how offended on all sides, like Christians all offend the shit out of each other because they can't agree on anything. They're, on the other side of it, we can look at it all and see all the similarities. You were raised Mormon, I was raised evangelical, whatever. It's all the same. It all comes out in the wash very similarly. We all have very similar trauma. And yet when you're in it, you're taught that there's these massive differences. And sure, there are differences, but in general, they're causing the same harm.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like Mormons have an entire line of apologetics just dedicated to like, not only are we Christian, we're more Christian than any other Christian religion. Like, look at the structure of our church. Jesus basically was like, here's how we do it now. You got the guy at the top and then the 12 apostles. We got the guy at the top and the 12 apostles. We don't celebrate the death of Christ. We don't wear crosses. We celebrate the resurrection. And what's really funny about Mormonism is they're pretty good at that with their own members. Because when you leave Mormonism has already taught you those weren't the valid reasons, but some pretty valid reasons why other churches aren't true. Like, they are way quick to teach you about Catholic hypocrisy and things about Catholicism that are clearly untrue. And then like why the Baptists are wrong from like a, this is where they'll jump out and they'll be like, here's a scientific fact. Here's a historical fact.
Critical
Here's
thinking,
something that's
all
from
of a sudden.
Exactly. And so when you leave Mormonism, you're like, well, I already know none of the other churches are true. Like I've got all these good reasons. All I did was turn on that same fucking mechanism for Mormonism.
Yes.
Turns out the whole thing's garbage. It's all bullshit.
That's a really good point. That was a huge part for me too. I didn't have to deconstruct a whole lot of other, I didn't go decide, let me try Catholicism or something. It had already been undone for me.
Yeah, it's nice too because there's like when you go to there and you realize like, no, the default is nothing until you've proven it. Not what a lot of older religious people think, which is if you realize your church is wrong, you have to find out which one's right. No, the answer can be none. Anyway, I have fixed the phone lines. I refreshed it and a call immediately came in right after I refreshed it. So the phone number is 720-619-2288. If you want to talk about purity culture, if you want to talk about growing up evangelical, fuck it. I mean, like whatever you all want to talk about, whatever in the realm of atheism, theism, purity culture, deconstructing, if you're still holding on to some religious belief, if you want me to abuse you for still believing in astrology, if you want whatever you like, call in about. I'll make fun of you for your tarot shit. Whatever you want. I don't even know whether Eve likes tarot. There's a lot of people who
I don't believe in any of it. I love the aesthetic. I'm not going to lie. I think it's cool, but there's nothing to it. Yeah.
But it's also like, this is one of those things where that's happening a lot in the atheist world. And I think specifically you're seeing it in these like secular pagan worlds. It's frustrating because it's demographically leaning in certain worlds of which I have overlap. It's very popular amongst queers. It's very popular amongst, I'm not myself trans, but obviously we run a trans show on this very channel on Thursdays. Everyone should be watching it. The Transatlantic Call-In Show. 2 trans people take calls in this very similar style. It's amazing. People check that show out. But it's popular in trans communities, even amongst atheists and stuff. And it's like, y'all, with the astrology and the tarot, if you're buying the stuff because you just like it or you like it as an exercise, you are still supporting a multi-billion-dollar industry that is preying on gullible people and selling them fucking like cures to not things they can actually cure. You gotta stop. Don't support that shit. Don't support it. Anyway, you ready to take the first call?
I'm ready.
I think I'm ready too. Let's talk to Taylor in Maryland, an atheist who I think wants to talk about QAnon families and the like. Taylor, you are on the line.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, Taylor.
Hi. I wanted to ask Eve kind of how you navigate the QAnon stuff with your family and how extreme it is, because I also have that, and sometimes it feels like it consumes their life. Do you have that problem, and how do you like navigate this type of conversations?
I do have that problem. It consumes their life to the point that it's their entire livelihood. And most of my siblings work for the family ministry full time, so it is definitely a prevalent thing. However, what's worked for my family is we all genuinely love each other, and we have actual relationships, and they are emotionally healthy people. So while there is dysfunction, and I believe there's dysfunction in some of their beliefs, they're able to have good relationships and healthy relationships with me, and they respect my boundaries and vice versa. So it's taken years of practice, and it's taken, like, I've gone no contact because I didn't have the tools to handle conversation with them. It's taken therapy, but I knew there was a good enough foundation there of relationship that I could have contact with them. And so I do now, and I am close with them in the ways that I can be. But for me, that looks like we don't have conversation about this. And it takes them respecting that for us to continue relationship. So I don't know if you have specific questions along those lines, but I think it all comes down to how healthy are the people you're dealing with, and how much are both of you willing to prioritize relationship and respect the boundaries on what conversations you'll have.
Okay, yeah, that's really encouraging because right now I'm like in what feels like the trenches of it, of trying to figure out the boundaries and trying to figure out what boundaries they're willing to like accept. There are times I've gone no contact, and I've talked about it in therapy before. It's really hard, but it's encouraging to hear that you guys were able to work it out, because I definitely love my family. I think they love me. So I think it'll just be, putting in the work, like you said.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if that's already huge that you have that you love them and you feel that they have love for you. And I went through the trenches. I mean, a couple of years ago, it was one of the most heartbreaking things for me. And honestly, a huge part was in therapy, learning how to grieve my family, like the idea that I had of who they were going to be to me and the type of relationship I could have. And I went through a grieving process, and now I just enjoy what I have with them because it's a new thing. And I've already mourned and continue to what I thought I would have with them. So there is absolutely hope. And, I think it's beautiful that you want that with them. And I think that's a huge sign that you can have that with them.
Thank you. I also am really glad you brought up that grieving process, because I've definitely been feeling that. And sometimes I feel a little crazy for it, but I'm glad to know that it's not crazy. Yeah. But thank you so much for advice.
Of course. Thanks so much for calling, and good luck with all of that. It's amazing that you have family to go through that with, and I wish you the best.
Thank you, guys. All right, have a good night. Bye.
Yeah. I mean, on that topic, it's one of those things that's sort of interesting, because I think I'm jealous of people who hold on to their old family, but then also I know there are people who it's like there's so many walls and boundaries up that it's almost just because there's a sense of I have to. Like there's a sense of like,
sure.
They're my biological family, so I must. So here's the little box I'll keep them in. And sometimes I think it can prevent people from then going and like finding their own family, their own good family. And I don't know. It's so the situation with my family is there are members of my family that I'm no contact with, like to the point of telling other members of my family, if they're going to be there, tell me, because I won't. And there's like members of my family who they haven't cut me off per se, but they spend no effort trying to be in my life at all. And that's fine. I don't give a fuck. I've 12 siblings. I'm glad I don't have to keep track of what all of them are up to. And then my parents, it's this weird situation where it was like for years, I wanted to try and have some relationship, especially with my dad, because while his sense of humor isn't great, it's not. It's one of these things where it's like I want to say we have a similar sense of humor, except for he's not that funny. He just thinks he's really funny, which maybe that's exactly the same. But I used to really enjoy as an adult talking to my dad about certain things and the way that literally like joking about stuff with him. It was just this one thing that we had that was positive. But then it comes with all of the other stuff. And a lot of the other stuff is like, oh, so we're just never going to address your faults. We're never going to address the things you did wrong that are still having consequences today. You're never going to approach anything that even sounds like mild contrition. You're never going to seek therapy. You're never going to apologize for anything. And you're not going to do anything that hurts your pride, even if it would keep the family together. So as other family members have gotten older and are like, holy shit, you like wrecked me. You need to take some accountability for that before we can grow and stuff. He's like, no. And by the way, you could say I was a bad dad, but remember how you were a bad child. Like fucking Jesus Christ, my guy. And then there's the mother issue, which is just its own other thing that I can't really get into without sounding mean. And so there was this effort for a long time on my end to like try and have something. And then these little things would keep happening and the desire to talk to them would go away more and more. And then some fucked up family shit happened. And I was like, all right, I'm done. And I sort of walked away from it all. And then I went through some stuff and sort of had this sense of like, it'd be better to have some relationship than no relationship. So I reached out and I was like, I'm going to visit before I move to Texas. And I visited and I ended up like storming out of the house because they just did this thing where they went like, okay, you're here. We're seeing if we can make this work. So rather than establish boundaries and have a healthy conversation about can we have a relationship, we're going to keep saying shittier and shittier things to find where the line is. But what we expect is when we cross the line, we'll be told, and then we're just going to hold the line there. And instead it was like, nope, you jumped past the line. You started past the line. Fuck you and your fucking faces. I'm done. And so now it's like at an arm's length where like, on occasion, some random piece of mail will still show up with my name to their house and they can tell me like, oh, an old credit card offer from some, some company that hasn't updated your information we had somebody waiting on the line. They dropped. Somebody else is getting screened. I don't know if something's going on with the whole thing, but anyway, it's like super, super arm's length now and sort of a,
sounds like you need to be.
Yeah. It's weird because I'm like, I technically could have a relationship with them, but I choose not to. So I don't know if I'm jealous of the people who do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think if, like I said, I'm lucky that my family is emotionally healthy because in a lot of situations, clearly it's not, and it's not the best thing. And a lot of people tried it, like you said, try to keep relationship just because they should, and there's no should. Chosen family is a real thing, and I have also found chosen family that are amazing. So there's no one should feel pressure to keep a family relationship alive unless they want to.
Yeah. Do you find that there is, so you were saying like there are restrictions on what you can talk about. Do you ever like try to establish like, hey, on this day, I do want to talk about those things? Because one of the things I wonder about is obviously it's something that when we leave faith, we have to protect ourselves from the ways that faith is used to abusing us. And that's why we put up those boundaries. But at the same time, we yearn for our family to leave. And those boundaries can prevent us from talking to them in the same ways that might eventually result in that. So is there anything that you do there, or is it, I can't change my family's mind, so I gave up. I'm like,
yeah, I don't feel that I am gonna produce a lot of change. However, I do still, if a comment is made that is bigoted in any way, shape, or form, I have to say something. That's just my value as a human being. I have to say something, and I'm going to speak up. And I've learned to do it in a way that they so far seem to receive well. So my perspective there is maybe I can't change their beliefs, but I can influence some of their values and point things. I can be a person that has conversations with them that they would never know in real life otherwise. Nobody else in their life is going to tell them that something they said was transphobic or something they said was racist or any of that. I am probably one of the very few even close to being on the left side of things that can be there to point them in any other direction. So those are the kinds of things where I do let myself say something. But as far as conversations, like actual conversations about politics and about religion, I won't do it. I just won't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's one of those things too, where I've told people that they should probably give up as well. Cause when it's specifically your parents and people who are older than you, you are talking about trying to not just break free of like they believe differently. This is the most solidified hierarchy in their life, that they are above you. There are very few parents who fully respect their adult children as some type of intellectual decision-making equal. And even the ones that there are many people out there who say, well, my parents do, and most of you are wrong. There's some line where if you approach it and they disagree with you on something, they will, and they can run out of all of the good reasons to disagree with you, but they still want to disagree. It can just come down to, I used to wipe your ass, homie. I don't give a fuck what you think. I literally used to clean your poopy. Like that's it's something that,
no, you're totally right.
and so they are programmed to dismiss you differently than anybody else. And yeah, it's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. And I don't want to fall back into that also mentality of evangelizing. I don't want to have to evangelize my parents out of evangelicalism either. And getting rid of that responsibility has been freeing.
Yeah, I guess like it's funny because what I just said is sort of contradictory to what I'm about to say, but evangelizing to me is like taking it to people. And I get that that's what it's feeling like, it's the same thing. But with family and shit, the people who put all of those beliefs in you, I feel like it's not the same thing. I feel like they held you hostage for decades. The least they can do is hear your perspective now and try to understand it. And so when it comes to a random stranger, there's no evangelism to my atheism, because you have to come to me. Like this show, if you want to talk to me, you dial my phone number. You call in and put your voice in my ears. I don't bring my voice to you. I just have it on a platform. And so it's not the same as like when I was a Mormon going door to door, or when I was just like listening, having my ear out for any opportunity to testify. Like that's over. That's done in my life. Here are the resources. I will also advocate for myself. But when it comes to my family, I'm literally like, no, fuck you. You made me read the Book of Mormon dozens of times. You can read the CES letter once. And I told my dad when I wanted him to read the CES letter, or there was the CES letter, and I also tried it with one of Richard Dawkins' books in my early atheist days, when that was the most useful resource to me, before I created much more useful resources. But anyway, I was like, I'll tell you what, Dad, you can pick 4 books, any 4 religious apologist books, if you'll read my one atheist book. And he like agreed to the exchange, did like 2 chapters, and then was like, it's a very well written book, but I'm not going to finish it. And it's like, yeah, I know you're not going to finish it because it challenges you and you don't like it. It's uncomfortable. And imagine how uncomfortable I was all of those times you were making me feel like I was a giant piece of shit because I got erections, essentially. Because that's like the number one thing Mormons like to shame you for, is being a human. And for guys, like, it's really funny how purity culture in Mormonism specifically is actually applied to both, to all genders, whereas in a lot of religions, it's much more selectively applied. Not to say that Mormon boys definitely get off easier.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Phrasing, right? Yeah, exactly. But as far as like the heavy guilt cycles and making you just feel like garbage for yourself, it's shitty. Yeah, the phones are ringing busy because we do have full lines now. Someone had just said that in the chat. I am just distracting from the fact that we should be taking calls because I'm loving this conversation so fucking much. But right of you to indirectly remind me, how do you feel about us taking a call that I think is probably directed at me wanting to argue with me a little bit about astrology? Are you ready for that one? Let's do that one. I would
love to hear this.
Michael in Texas. We could have had this argument over coffee because that's where I am. And Texas isn't huge and we're probably not 9 hours apart. Michael, that's a joke. I don't know where you are in Texas. You're on the line.
I'm in Fredericksburg. You ever heard of Fredericksburg?
Dude, I moved here in May. I haven't heard of all of the towns next to my town. No. I'm about equally between San Antonio and Austin, but west. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you're not terribly far. Where do you go get groceries? I'm just kidding. What do you want to talk about with astrology?
So, earlier, I think I heard you say we could talk about it in any way, right?
Hell yeah.
Go ahead and call, right?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
When I was doing astrology, let me summarize this. I don't think it's totally useless. I'm an atheist. I used to think it was God or like a creation driven, but I don't think that anymore. But at the same time, I still believe that I learned a lot about people from the way I was doing astrology.
Sure, I learned how to cook potatoes by being a Mormon, but I could have learned to cook potatoes and could have learned cooking phrases without going through a scam.
Jimmy, I know I'm an atheist now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's God driven. I'm just trying to say that the astrology that I learned, right? Like if you go through all the signs, it was like an opportunity, almost an academic one, I guess.
Go through what science? Astrology has not only never been a science, astrology has never been affirmed by science, it has been debunked by science tons of times. So what science do I need to go through, bud?
I'm sorry, I said signs. I think
signs. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, accent. Okay. So I'm sorry. You're right. That was my fault. Go through all the signs. What is it I need to get out of the signs?
Maybe you don't, but maybe it was at my time in my own personal development, just the fact that I was learning stuff that I had never thought of about. And it had to do with like characteristics and personalities and just points of views.
Right. Plus all that bigotry you learned from it. Do you remember that? You don't? Okay. Hey, let me ask you this.
Sorry.
Would this be a correct statement made by an astrologer? People who are Aries and Cancer should probably never date. They are incompatible.
So personally, that's not the kind of astrology that I would even consider to pass along.
Yours was the right astrology. By the way, that is a consistent statement amongst astrologers, and it's a consistent is consistently. So when you want to say you want to support astrology, like somebody might say, I want to support Christianity because my version of Christianity, blah, blah, blah. You have to recognize that your foundation, the thing you are foundationally supporting, includes something as bigoted as these two groups with arbitrary characteristics shouldn't date each other because of when they were born. And we can't actually tie that to anything in a scientific way. So what's the right kind of astrology?
Okay, so I'm not saying that was incorrect, but I'm saying that that's not one that I was using.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was using, what if I said like reflection? Like,
do you need astrology to reflect?
I can say that at that time in my life, it was helping me reflect on things that I wasn't reflecting on until I had read all these things.
So give me an example.
Like, let's say, like Libra, it might be saying I balance, which might be different than Taurus saying I have, or like a Capricorn, you know, saying I'm ambitious. You know, I had never considered those characteristics in a way until I did that. Now,
wait. You hadn't considered you might be ambitious until someone said, as a Capricorn, you're ambitious?
No. I mean, I never considered, like, I never analyzed it like that. I never took it to that where I was like, wait a minute, yeah, there's all these types of characteristics that these people have. Granted, I used to think that it was driven by a creator, but I don't now. All I'm just saying is...
So what do you think it's driven by now?
Frauds.
Yeah, no shit. And the Barnum effect. So wait, you acknowledge that it's driven by fraud.
Most of it, not all of it.
What part of astrology isn't driven by fraud?
I would say I wasn't being a fraud. I was just wrong in the past.
So the people, okay, I see what you're doing. Victims of fraud are not fraudulent. Okay, you're right. You're still a victim and there's still a fraud and we're still better without the fraud system.
Sure. I really wasn't trying to say that everybody should learn astrology now. I just meant, like, I'm kind of comfortable with what I learned from it. You know what I mean? Or what I have learned and how I've changed my mind about it.
What have you learned from astrology that you needed astrology to learn? So when I say that, I mean exclusive. Wait a second. I mean exclusive, that there aren't other systems out there. So astrology specifically says people born at this time under this moon in this house have this characteristic. That's exclusive to astrology. To say some humans are ambitious is not exclusive to astrology. So what are the exclusives to astrology that's the best system to deliver you a useful thing? What is that? What is it?
So I wouldn't say it is the best system.
It's not even a good system.
I guess I'm not defending what I feel like I've got from it, because again, like I said, I'm an atheist. I'm like probably on the number 7 scale, but at the same time, it was just, I feel like, okay, how about we look at it like this? If I never opened any of those books, I would probably not be who I am right now.
Okay. Would you be somebody?
Excuse me?
Would you be somebody right now?
No, I just mean...
Maybe that somebody would have been better. Might have been worse, but who cares? If you change almost anything about my past, I won't be who I am right now. I might be happy. It feels like better's the only option.
So there's a part of me that says, I feel, okay, I could say I was a victim of my own ignorance. I'm not going to blame anybody else for it.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm a little bit grateful for going through all those exercises. I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't.
Sure. Great. Fine. I look at my history with physical illness and I go, you know what? That fucking made me an adult a lot faster than the average person. And that actually helped me deal with abuse in other ways, because by growing up, I learned ways to handle being sick that also helped me handle being abused. And I'll look at that and go, man, I'm glad that happened. You know what I'd rather, though, do is go back in time and make me never sick. And if I can, at the same time, make me never abused. If you want to look through history, and by the way, what you're saying is, because I like the result, I advocate for the method. You do know that has been utilized for really terrible things. And so on an individual level, you can say, I like who I am and the way I survived X, Y, or Z, without saying that something from your past, like sexual assault or whatever the evil is in the past, is itself independently good. You're arguing that astrology is good, whereas I can say my own experience with sexual assault and how I came out on the other side of it makes me a fucking badass. But I'm not going to say that makes the sexual assault good. Definitely not. So maybe don't say that the bigoted system like astrology, because you like who you became despite it, is then still somehow redeemable or good or useful.
If I were asked questions about it today, right, from people, I would tell them, no, it's mostly like hocus pocus. But there's so much reading and there's so much content. I would not say, oh, don't read that because it's going to screw you up. I'll just say, but it's probably not.
But no one's made that argument. I still read the Bible.
Excuse me?
When I have to. I don't tell people not to read the Bible. In fact, it's one of the best ways to turn people atheist. Actually read the Bible and sit in front of me and read the passage about a man boiling his son and then asking another person to boil their son so they could survive a famine together, and feeling very slighted because we boiled my son. We made a deal. Fucking stay a Christian after that shit. Well, who's defending that no one should be aware of this old system, or what the roots of that system is, or what anthropological astrology implications there might be? No one's saying that.
So,
I do like you, Michael, by the way. I'm not, despite the fact that I get emphatic about it, I just don't understand what you're trying to save here. It's like when people come to fucking like Thanksgiving dinner and try like, let's talk about Hitler's good policies. Stop trying to make Hitler work. Stop trying to redeem Hitler. Stop trying to redeem astrology. Are they as bad as each other? Yes.
How about this? Maybe this is something. I don't
just said that to
make
piss people
jargon
off.
I don't make charts anymore. I don't do any readings anymore. I don't do that anymore. So that must really show you that I've reduced my what I consider the value of it.
Okay, Eve, do you have any thoughts? Because I don't know how to further make the point I've made 9 times.
No, you've made it, man.
Let Eve talk.
I'm more curious, Michael, what is your main point? Are you legitimately defending astrology and you think that it should continue to be as popular as it is? Or are you just saying at one point in your life it helped you and you don't regret it?
Yeah, the second one. Yeah.
I think that's probably where go ahead.
And I'm not saying that help is accessible to everybody else. It could just be what I'm going through or what I was going through.
Nah, Michael, I still think that's horseshit. But,
Oh, damn.
That's me.
Well, because it's kind of a very selfish perspective to take on it too, because I can also say that, if I wasn't raised an evangelical Christian, then I wouldn't be who I am. And there's some things I learned. The Bible characters taught me a lot about things about myself, and the story of Esther, and, inspired me to royalty and all that, I could say a bunch of stuff like that. But when push comes to shove, it is super harmful. And as Jimmy said over and over, there's a million other ways that could have been learned. So it's kind of just strange to call, and I'm glad you called, this is a great conversation, but in general, it is weird to call an atheist show to defend something just because you personally had an okay experience with it when it's really harmful.
Well, I watched TACIS and the Atheist Experience, The Line.
Yeah.
This is the first time I called. It's kind of like the first time I feel like I've had an opportunity to call, because when Jimmy was talking about it, I was like, well, I don't have all these salty feelings about astrology.
You got to exist in some of the worlds I exist in. I'm specifically salty because I'm constantly inundated with assholes who are like, I'm an atheist and I'm a skeptic, but here are my exceptions. Shut the fuck up. Not you, Michael. Okay. You're not. I'm not telling you to shut the fuck up. You're not saying it's an exception for you. I'm telling these people at large.
Yeah. No, but I really do get all your points.
Yeah.
Because, hey, I've been an atheist, I think, about 10 years now. Maybe 12. But
here's my deal, man. If astrology didn't exist, there was a better chance that when you needed whatever you think you got out of astrology, there would have been a higher chance for something healthy to reach you. In the same way that when we tier all these people with essential oils, and where people preyed upon them when they were vulnerable, and the system that was in place to find them the quickest was scams like essential oils, and that is the level of scam that astrology is. Possibly worse, because I think astrology makes more money, so it's also capitalistically predatory. But it is when you needed help and you got something out of astrology that later you deconstructed from, but you still feel some gratitude toward, it might have, the system in place, there would have been less blocks in the way from you getting, like, I don't know, a therapist, which would have done you a lot more good than whatever astrology was giving you. Or just even reading a book about human psychology. I thought Eve's example was great about, like, she's the woman she is today because of her evangelical history. That is not condoning the evangelical history. I am charismatic because of Mormonism. The way I talk to all of you, anybody who watches because they like the way I communicate, I learned that communication in Mormonism, and because Mormonism only values charismatic males. If you want to have social value in Mormonism, you have to learn charisma. I am visibly and uncomfortably autistic. And if you don't believe me, meet me in real life. It picks up immediately. I can talk to a camera because it's not fucking real. Try and hold eye contact as a stranger with me. I will make you so fucking uncomfortable. This is artificial charisma that I learned as a skill. Same thing with, I think I'm funny. My sense of humor is a skill I learned. It is not something I've always been good at. And Mormonism is what I have to quote unquote thank for that. I'd still rather not grow up abused by Mormonism, and I'm not going to redeem it for that. And I know astrology feels less evil, but it's literally an arbitrary system of segregating people. That's what it is at its core.
Can I give an example so maybe I can... You won't hate me so much?
Well, I don't hate you at all. Seriously, Michael, we could probably chill and kick it, and we'd talk about fish or some shit, and we'd have fun. Just wouldn't have fun talking about astrology.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So this is sort of like, I guess I'm trying to say how I have set that aside. Like when people talk about psychics, right? I say, that's pseudoscience. That's if psychics were real, they'd be winning the lottery and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to push back on the pseudo stuff,
Yeah, psychics are they're not just wrong; they're also evil. They're predators.
Well,
no, there's no well. That's what they are.
Right. I don't exert that sort of. Maybe I should, but I don't go that far with it.
I'm not saying go and burn down their places, but you should recognize charlatans for what they are. I think some of them are well-meaning and some of them fall for their own bullshit. Victims are monsters are usually victims before they become the same monster. Like, that's true. I feel terrible for people that I can't stand, like the transform wife, but she is as much a victim as she is a monster, but I react to the monster.
The transformed wife?
Yeah, you don't want to start. If you don't know who I'm talking about, don't. Your life is better never knowing who that is. I'm jealous of you that you don't know who that is.
But anyways, I really appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you,
Thanks
Michael.
for calling, Michael.
You guys have a great night.
Down with
too.
astrology. See you, bud.
Bye.
Don't try to make astrology work, y'all, but actually do. Call in if you want to. Are you good with doing... Yeah, so we're already an hour in. What is... You're one of the people who I never know when this is going to happen, but we start talking and then I realize like 20 minutes have passed and it's like, are we still good to keep taking some more calls? Do we need to be heading toward the super chat? You were good?
I'm totally good. I'm having a blast.
Okay. This one is definitely more for you. I'm sorry for being very selfish and intercepting.
No, that was great.
But this is going to be from Jerry in Missouri. I'm creating your tags. But Jerry in Missouri wanting to talk about purity culture and his Christian daughter. Jerry, you are on the line.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Jerry.
Oh, hello. I'm a little nervous. I'm a follower of yours.
Which one?
Everybody's actually.
Hell yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
Her story has impacted me. I've been an atheist for quite a long time. And my parents never really pushed religion in my view, and I found a church. And on my way out of the church was a little crazy. People waking up, speaking in tongues, waking up drunk off the holy wine, and I found my way out. But
Good.
I never pushed religion on my kids or my beliefs, atheism, anything. But the church got its grips on my children.
Mm-hmm.
And now my 19-year-old daughter has been struggling with purity culture. And she don't want to talk to me. I can't hardly talk to her. I was wondering if there was any avenues that might help me. It's uncomfortable trying to talk to your daughter about purity culture.
Yeah.
And I was kind of trying to figure out if there's any avenue that maybe you might think your dad might have helped you out. If that was, I know it wasn't possible, but if he could have said something to you at that point in time, what could he have said?
Well, first of all, that is amazing that you love your daughter in that way. And I'm so sorry because I know that's got to be really hard to watch. Are there specific things that, like, is there a specific part of purity culture that you're watching have the biggest toll? Is it just the whole idea that, is she just not dating? Is she doing the whole just save sex for marriage, or what's the main issue?
Saving sex for marriage. She has boyfriends, but they kind of don't last long once they start pushing the issue. You know what I mean? But other than that, it's I don't know. It's a scary thought for me because I am familiar with the oppression and everything that surrounds the purity culture does.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want no dominating boyfriend to control my daughter's life.
Yeah.
And that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, that's a valid fear. You know, I wish I had something more helpful to offer, but I think that all you really can do, and it is actually still a lot, is just love her exactly how she is right now. If she's not receptive of anything else from you, then I wouldn't push. You know, there's, of course, you could send her books or YouTube channels and all sorts of things. There's tons of resources out there, and maybe someday she'll be ready for that. And it sounds like you're already following tons of people so that you could send her at some point. But I think it sounds like
everything you do about it on Facebook, and I don't even think she looks at my Facebook anymore because of my atheism or my political avenues. But
yeah, it's probably scary to her. But I think if you're just there for her, however you can be, even if that means sometimes restraining yourself from the things you probably want to say to her about all of this, most likely someday she's going to need somebody. She will hit some sort of, with the way purity culture goes now in our culture, it would be very rare, I think, that she finds success in it. And that's what happened to me. I got married at 19. It was awful experience. And I needed to know that there was somebody there that unconditionally loved me, that wouldn't judge me, that would understand why I made the choices I made, but that would be accepting to me now changing. And I think as hard as it is to watch her go down this path that you got yourself out of, there isn't a lot you can do at this point, at the age that she is and all of that. But if you're there, just loving her along the way, you might very well be the only person she can turn to someday. And that's really hard as a dad, but
it does seem like we're both at a fork in the road where I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. And it seems like we'll both end up getting hurt.
Yeah.
Once she finally realizes, something's not right.
I think that there comes a time in everybody's development where they need somebody they can get judgment-free advice from. And I think if you just do what Eve said, the opportunity is going to come to you. Because obviously, like when you were initially setting everything up, I was worried that there were going to be people who were like, are they about to give him advice to tell his daughter to start having sex before she's ready? And of course, that's not what we're going to do. We would never tell anybody.
That's not even what I was looking for.
But one of the things that needs to be impressed upon people is the dangers of waiting until marriage, which is the number of stories I've now had to listen to through people crying, essentially saying, I didn't even know I was gay until I started having sex that not only did I not want to have, I felt obligated to have over and over. Or I didn't know I was asexual. I didn't know that my relationship with sex, I would only want to be this, but my partner wants something completely different, and our relationships to sex are totally incompatible. It is something that is identity destroying for people, because it's you having to live in complete denial. And when there's that religious backup, it's expected, especially of women, to meet men where they are, not the other way around, not to try and find that compromise. And that's why you hear about people like these cliche jokes they make about, well, then you get married and everything you were expecting doesn't actually happen. And that's why I get up on stages and make fun of my wife all the time, because nobody's actually happy in any of these marriages. But one person is often being compelled to do something that if they felt like they had actual full options to consent, they wouldn't. There's another word for that, but we avoid it on YouTube because it's automatic demonetization. It's happening a lot.
I catch it.
Yeah.
I catch what you're swinging.
And it's happening a lot. Well, real quick, before I let you go. So I was just going to wrap back up to what I was saying at the beginning. She's going to, at some point, need a parent who she feels like is judgment-free, or even just an adult who she feels like is judgment-free. If you push too hard now, that doesn't feel judgment-free.
Right.
It can create a reluctance where she thinks the moment you have the opportunity to talk her out of it, you're going to try and take this greater opportunity to attack her vulnerability and change everything about her. And so you don't want to do that. You want to actually be the I will love you no matter what. And if you come to me and say, I hate church and I don't want to ever go back, and the next day you say, I was just upset, all I'll do is understand and still love you even as you go back to church. That's what she needs to expect out of coming back to you.
Yeah.
That's how it is right now, and it is so damn hard to hold that level of it's even hard for me to put in words. It's even hard to talk right now because it's emotional for me.
Sure.
And I try not to show that or portray it.
Yeah, I get it.
No,
But
and I actually think
guys.
one more thing. I think, like I was saying with the other caller, that might be something you need to lean into, though, is that grief of watching your daughter go through that. That is emotional, and it is okay to be emotional about that. And I think coming to terms with that and the sadness that is actually going to help you be able to be closer to her and be there for her. Because right now you're probably caught in the tension of the grief and the sadness for what you're watching her experience. So yeah, that's beautiful that you feel that way for her.
Yeah, I almost bought your book for her for Christmas, but I kind of held back, and I'm like, maybe I should not do that.
Buy the book and put it on your shelf. I'm not kidding. Buy the book and put it somewhere that is not in front of her, not for her to find, but she has access to finding it. Literally do shit like that. Not anything that's aggressive.
That's
yeah. And then leave her in the room with that shelf as often as you can. And that's only between you and you. You don't know that she doesn't know that you're just hoping that she glances it and sees it, whatever. But yeah, buy the
Jimmy,
book.
you're way smarter. You're way smarter. Let chat let you believe there.
Thank you. I agree. I agree.
And you guys and everybody you've had on your channel, even you, Eve, has changed my worldview drastically and made me a lot stronger in my opinions.
Yeah, Jerry, for the record, you changed your worldview, but we're happy to be a part of the journey there. Thank you for calling, Jerry.
That's what I mean. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Jerry.
Bye.
I don't let people give me credit for their deconversions.
Totally. People can say whatever they want, and if you're not ready and you're not processing on your own, then nothing's happening. So
I'm really sad that we had a theist lined up. There's a line open if the theist wants to call back. I think it was a Christian who said they had a lot to say, and they dropped. And I would like to talk to that Christian. I would like that, or theist or whatever you were. Please call back. I won't be mean unless you're a dick. And I don't mean unless you're a dick as in you say what you believe. I mean as in like if you try to yell over me, if you try to not answer questions, if you just try to proselytize, that's the rule. There are plenty of examples I know people know of me screaming at somebody and hanging up on them and making them feel foolish. But they started it every time. There are also tons of examples of us having very leveled, I've been very well behaved in most theist calls. And so I hope the theist will call back, and I promise to be patient, unlike the way I was with Charles last night where
oh no.
You have to see the Charles call after we're done. I went back and watched it and entertained myself. But then, ego and all that. We'll talk to Whisper in Utah, who is an atheist, pronouns they, them. Whisper, you are on the line. That's not the right one.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so my thing is this. I am like a hobby scientist of sorts, and so I go to a lot of rock conventions with like fossils, minerals, and I do a lot of rock hounding. I do a lot of science stuff. Anyways, Crystal Woo has invaded all of those spaces to the point where it's getting difficult to do actual science communication or even accessing science stuff when there's just crystal stuff like just a bunch of amethyst and quartz all over the place and selenite, and you can never find anything good. And it's all been overpriced, and everybody buys it, and it's difficult to access. And it's difficult to access science knowledge as well, because there's always, what kind of crystal is this good for, or what kind of holistic remedy is this great for?
Sure. So are you basically just calling to say, like, astrology is not the bad thing? There's also a bunch of stupid people who do shit for you.
Absolutely not.
Okay, that's
They're
good.
pretty.
They're very
Except
pretty.
the radioactive
They're very
ones. Those ones are literally dangerous.
That's true. Radioactive ones can kill you. That's also true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I keep mine behind lead.
Gotcha. So was there a question or something, or you just wanted to share the sort of the perspective that crystal woo is also like getting between people in science education?
It is, yeah. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
It's making it very difficult to be able to access a lot of science stuff, because crystal woo has made those spaces a lot smaller, taking over what used to be for rock and stuff, for actual science stuff.
Yeah. I'm very, very confused. I think what's maybe happening here is you called just to sort of make a point. And so I don't want to jump over your point or try and explain it back to you. But generally we're taking calls for a question and our own commentary. But I totally agree with you, I guess, is if we want to just make the question is, do you agree? Or is there a specific thing you're wanting one or both of us to comment on?
Well, what kinds of things would you suggest in order to stop the encroachment, I guess?
I mean, it's I don't know what to suggest other than like the thing I have seen is the most useful form of trying to promote skepticism and science literacy is doing call-in shows. So that's what I do.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think it's generally you have to figure out where you participate in a world of trying to educate people and encourage people to do better and be more scientific and to discourage all of that. Because if I knew how to do it with crystal woo, I would have already done it with astrology. But so far, the only thing I've coming up is basically me being a whiny little bitch about it online. That's all I've got.
I guess all I can do is encourage others.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're passionate about it. I mean, my version of what Jimmy said would be to get on TikTok and start educating people on crystals and what is actual science behind it, not the woo part, and raise awareness. You could even do exposés on the rock conventions and how as we're calling them, the crystal woos are coming in and taking over the market. That's the way that Jimmy and I obviously know how to bring change. I'm sure there's a million other things you could think of, but start with the fact that you have passion about it and go from there. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I worry about is crystal woo brings with it a lot of racism and bigotry with it.
Yeah.
Like it kind of drags behind the Viking white supremacists. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that stuff's frustrating.
There's a pipeline. There's a pipeline there.
Yeah, there's definitely
the pipeline. That's the word.
I feel like the crystal woo stuff is also people who are into crystal woo are it's like there's all these different groups of people, and wherever you start, you're more vulnerable to some of the other groups of people. So it's like if you start with Mormonism, you're definitely going to get into essential oils. And if you get into essential oils, you're definitely going to think quartz and salt lamps do shit. And if you get into quartz and salt lamps, the Mormonism thing was the stupid thing to add here. But it's like then there's
because I live in Utah, that's basically every rock convention and reptile expo I go to. There's like 5 or 10 booths of MLMs and crystal woo.
Yeah. And then you've got the things that are somewhat rooted in some pagan things where people are selling you the types of candles and sage to burn and all that. And sage smells disgusting. And you should not do that in a space that other people are going to be in, because autistic people like me won't be able to stay there. So your weird little thing you do before your concert where you purify the space, fuck you in your fucking face. You ruined my night. I know, me too, Whisper.
It's such a common autism thing. I went to the rock shop the other day, and the guy waved some incense under the bag of rocks I bought, not because of any woo thing, but I bought them for actual art and science and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, he waved the incense under him, and I'm like, great, now my rocks smell like weird grass instead of rocks.
Yeah. Law of attraction people too. They end up doing all of it. Law of attraction people end up getting into astrology, rocks, quartz. They'll say, I believe in energy. And then you go, oh, like electrons? No. Well, that's what energy is, you fucking asshole.
I know. It's frustrating, but I guess all you can do is bring more awareness to it, like you said, and continue being passionate. Thank you.
Thank you, Whisper. Thank you for...
Thanks, Whisper.
Thank you for the opportunity of catharsis where I got to yell, fuck you, asshole, with your sage and your electrons. I fucking like, I hear that shit so often where they're like, people will be like, well, I'm not really atheist. I'm like, I'm agnostic, but I do believe in like energy. I was like, do you think atheists don't believe in energy? Well, but I just believe like there's energy connecting everything. No shit. It's called electrons. The fuck are you talking about? Of course, no, but I'm saying, so not energy. You're not talking about energy. You're talking about woonergy.
Woonergy.
Which I just came up with. That's mine.
You need to trademark that immediately.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, let's do another. Okay, so here's the deal. We've got 2 more atheists. We'll probably make these calls short. If we get another theist call, we'll take that. We're not going to take any more atheist calls. Once we're done with these atheist calls, and then any theists who call in, we'll go on to super chats. But I'd love for that 1 or 2 theists to call back. Even if Eve has to leave at some point, I'll stay up all night to talk to theists. That's what I do. That's how I do. But for the moment, we're going to talk to Brad in Missouri. Now, Brad, it says in the notes here that you want to talk about your deconversion. Here's the deal. We don't do story sharing. If you have a specific thing that's like less than a minute to set up a question, that's fine. But it's sort of like, it's kind of unfair to other people if we're like, hey, we've done all this work to build up an audience and a show, and you can call in and just have our audience. We don't really do that. So if you say when you want to talk about your deconversion, it's like a tweet length summary and then a question follows, you're welcome to do it. And this still says Whisper.
No, I get that. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Jimmy. Yeah, I appreciate that. Just an aside, I love the show. I love your network.
Thank you, Brad.
I love that people shit on you all the time, and it's it's funny.
I'm glad you love it, Brad.
So what really prompted me to call in was you mentioned Jackson County, Missouri. I grew up RLDS.
Nice.
Are you familiar with the reorganized?
Hell yeah! In fact, I even kind of like the RLDS because they're starting to develop secular sects of it.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Anyway, we even thought Mormons were crazy.
Yeah,
so,
who doesn't?
Just an aside for that.
Sure.
But yeah, I just briefly. My deconversion came about through just a lot of study of the Bible. Mm-hmm. And I know that's kind of common, and it kind of tracks across a lot of deconversion stories. I don't know that I've heard specifically what Eve thought of that, or what you thought of that, or what led, if it was outside circumstances or more of focusing on whatever religion or form of, branch of Christianity it was. But, that was kind of my question.
Yeah. So if I can re-summarize the question back to you, are you asking if our journey out of religion was during the exercise of like studying and proving our religion, or if it was something else? Is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
That's 100% what happened to me. I was in the journey of proving Mormonism true, and then all that other stuff happened. What about you, Eve?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I had started going to ministry school to strengthen my faith, and had started studying the Bible more extensively than I ever had before. I mean, I grew up reading the Bible. I had a Christian education, whatever that is. And so it was absolutely through trying to solidify my beliefs that they completely fell apart. And I think that is a very common thing. So many of the atheists I know now, especially the ex-evangelical atheists, went to seminary school. That was a huge trigger for a lot of people, because when you're being intellectually honest and you're practicing these critical thinking skills, you know, even in some place like a school of ministry, you have to use critical thinking skills to do your homework and all of that. Suddenly, if you follow through with it, it will bring you out of it as well. So
Yeah,
that's what happened for me.
Ironic, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. So, yeah. For me, just quickly, I won't waste much time. I was trying to be as close to the original church as I could possibly be, as far as in theology, which led me into a really deep dive in Romans. And what really hung me up was Romans chapter 9, verses 19 and 20, which basically God says, or Paul says, well, I'll just let everybody else figure that out. I'm not going to go into it. It's probably too deep, or for this call.
I'd probably
anyway.
start wanting to shovel my own ears out if we're going to start discussing scripture. My God. Brad, by the way, some people in chat were asking what RLDS is. So just to answer, the RLDS Church is the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So while Mormonism, what people usually call Mormonism, is known as basically the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, there are other sects. So there is the RLDS, and then there are the FLDS, and those are the main ones that exist. FLDS are the ones who followed Brigham Young shit also, but then held on to polygamy. RLDS, as opposed to F, and like the caller was, is the people who, instead of following Brigham Young, believed that the gospel would have gone from Joseph Smith to be restored through his son, Joseph Smith Jr., I think it was. And so it's a different lineage, and like they gave women the priesthood and actually have been way more progressive than the main Mormon church in a lot of ways. There's a lot of places now where you don't even have to accept the Book of Mormon is true to be RLDS. It's a very interesting thing they're doing that's way cooler than the LDS church, but still has its own pitfalls for sure. And also is actually consistent with the origins of the church, and definitely, like, the funny thing is mainstream Mormonism will try to make you think that they are Joseph Smith's vision for the future. They definitely are not. Joseph Smith, still a con man pedophile, but if you want to go with which church he was trying to start, the RLDS actually makes way more sense for what he was trying to do than fucking giving Brigham Young, that psychopath, the reins. Anyway.
Okay. That's all I had, Jimmy. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, bye.
Bye. I assume there are two people who are working on screen. Okay, here we go. Sven is here to tell me that I was straw manning energy which it's fine. I'm not going to do the whole, in as much as I could be very pedantic about it. I'm going to make you I'm going to put the label in as spiritual caller, because that's the word you've wanted to use. And wants to call my phrasing, which was clearly 100% non-hyperbolic, of energy into question. Sven, correct me. Do it.
Hi, yes. I just wanted to comment on how you said you're talking about electrons when you would be the one specifying what type of energy you mean when you define energy as, well, we mean electrons.
Yeah, what are the other types of energy?
Well, energeia, like in ancient Greece, just meant activity on operation, and that's why we believe souls and spirits have energy, because they are doing activity.
But not measurable, right?
And energy... No.
Right, so one might even suggest that to, in the modern day, use the term energy, that maybe like when a person uses the term faith, you're actually, in a somewhat dishonest way, relying on the conflation of the two terms to sound more reasonable. Like when a person comes to me and says, well, Jimmy, you have faith too. One might say that you're actually using terms that are now associated with being reasonable and scientific, and that you haven't stayed with energeia instead of energy, or whatever term you want to use. Like, how about magic fuzzy dust? Because definitely when we talk about energy, and energy is being discussed at large, we're talking about things which are measurable, things we can actually go find evidence of. So what you want to tell me is that, hey, Jimmy, you are wrong. Sometimes when people say energy, they are using the tradition of meaning some undetectable magical force, and that's totally legitimate. Is that right, Sven?
I didn't know what question you were asking, but yes, I would agree with almost all of what you're saying, except that it's not like we are relying on people to have a modern understanding. I don't think people are saying that rocks give off energy in the way that your phone charger gives energy to your phone. You know, one is kinetic energy,
and one is imaginary.
Spiritual energy.
Oh, spiritual. Well,
But what is
tomato,
spiritual
tomato.
energy?
Well, imaginary, if you want to call all metaphysics imaginary, that's fine. But you're straw manning what we mean. But just by saying imaginary, metaphysics is a complete field of philosophy, and these things have terms that we use, and they don't mean exactly what you mean, and you know that.
If you are going to engage,
what word would you prefer us to use?
Magic mumbo jumbo, and it's a scam. But that's what I would prefer. I can't actually expect you to do so because you're still happy to deceive yourself, let alone other people. So as far as
I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't go out and prophesize. I am just willing to have conversations with people.
That's great, Sven. I by the way, you did come to me, but that's fine. I'm glad you did, Sven. I'm glad you did, and I've given you my opinion on it. As far as if you are going to exist in the world and you're going to interact, and by the way, I chastise atheists for doing the thing that you think I'm letting go of. I chastise people for getting extremely myopic or pedantic and doing this bullshit where they go, hey, when I'm out in the world, you need to use the term atheist the way we would in a philosophy class, and the colloquial expectation be damned. Everyone must get on my intellectual level. Fuck that. When you're in the world where colloquial is the default, you should exist within the boundaries of what you should expect. And then if you're going to break out of that because we're having a discussion about beliefs and theism, you need to specify your terms. Otherwise, you end up saying stupid stuff, and I'm not accusing you specifically, Sven, of doing this, though if you want to, it wouldn't surprise me, of saying something like you have faith in science the way I have faith in God. You do stupid conflation things because people aren't defining their terms. And so if somebody comes up to me and says, I'm agnostic, not atheist, because I believe in energy, that's a really stupid sentence to say, which is what I shared as the specific example.
Okay, I can see that. There was a lot in there.
Sven, you've also called in the past to tell us that we're non-skeptical because we don't consider metaphysics. You've literally called in with that topic before. Do you remember?
Yes, I think it's not skeptical to throw away the entire section of ancient thought that we classified as metaphysics.
And that's what I love about you. You're going to call in to tell me about straw manning when you have a history of straw manning. Hilarious. Fucking hilarious, Sven.
Is that not what nominalists
I am a
do?
skeptic because I maintain my same skeptic qualifications. I maintain my same skeptic boundaries, thresholds, whatever, when it comes to metaphysics and everything else. And so if metaphysics is thrown out, it's because metaphysics comes and says, skepticism can't apply to us. And I say, I'm sorry, you've disqualified yourself. It's like you've lined up to get bread, but you're in the milk line. This is only the line for milk, you asshole. I'm not going to go bother the bread line. Now, if you can demonstrate something better than skepticism exists and gets people to truth, I will literally use my skepticism to stop being a skeptic once you demonstrate that. Literally, like, it's just hilarious to me, Sven. You're just here to tell me I'm straw manning as a caller who calls into straw man. I love it. It's poetic. Glorious.
Well, I apologize for any hypocrisy.
Thank you. Oh my God, that's so honest and sweet of you.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be hostile towards you guys. I've been
I wouldn't care if you
supporter
were.
of the show.
Call in and be hostile. Makes better clips.
I just think, like, when you go to what is a better way to find truth, that is what metaphysics is in the field of talking about, is your axioms. Whereas physics just takes the basic axioms of materialism and runs with it. But metaphysics is a branch of still questioning why we have those axioms in this physical world.
Yeah.
What's Platonism? Why are numbers so useful, but they don't exist in the real world?
And it's also almost entirely utilized by people who want to be able to claim knowledge or beliefs in things for which they don't have adequate justification, where they would rather than jump to solipsistic bullshit than question whether or not their own beliefs are warranted. That's my opinion on it. But Sven, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you finish, but I think you'll agree that rather than us keep doing this for another 10, 20 minutes, Sven, I bet you would rather me go to the call that's waiting, which is a theist who wants to advocate for theism on the basis that religious people have better sex lives. Do you tell me?
That sounds great. Personally, I would rather talk about postmodernism and what truth means, but that's because I'm a philosopher. The chat will enjoy that call, so you guys have a lovely night.
Love you. Thanks,
for
Sven.
taking my call.
Thanks, Sven.
Bye.
I also just like saying Sven. So also thank you for calling for the opportunity to say Sven.
Is that really what the next call is about?
It really is what the next call is about.
I can't be fucking late.
Felix in Florida, I feel like I've been waiting the whole show for you to call, my friend. I can't say enough about how glad I am that you're here. So Felix in Florida, you are on the line with Eve and Jimmy. Here's what I'm going to do, Felix. I'm going to make a 1-minute timer like Forrest did on his phone in the show last night.
Nice.
And I'm going to hold it up and I'm going to give you a full minute. You might see me jumping back here like I want to jump in, but you're going to get a full minute to yourself to present without interruption what you are here to present. Okay?
Okay.
Ready, set, go.
Social demographers from the University of Exeter, basically in the UK, the United Kingdom, a pretty secular country, they analyzed and they did a survey of 10,000 people, adults ages 18 to 60. The study, published in the Journal of Sex Research, pointed that religious people had a higher satisfaction in their sex life among those considered religion as fairly or even important, compared to those stating religion was not important at all. Those who said religion was important said that they had better sex lives and they were more satisfied with their sex than non-religious people. Religious individuals are more likely to limit their sexual activity to relationships based on love and devotion. I'm not saying that secularists don't do that, but religious people tend to do that more instead of casual sex. Sexual satisfaction is regularly higher within these sorts of dedicated partnerships, while casual sex outside of committed relationships is often related to lower sexual satisfaction.
Okay.
So I would say
Felix.
purity culture is one extreme. Oh, okay. I was like, last sentence?
Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead, finish that. Purity culture is one extreme, blank.
Purity culture, yeah, it has its damages, and I agree with that. But I think hookup culture is the opposite extreme, which also has its damages.
Okay, so I'm going to start here, and we can talk about purity culture versus hookup culture. By the way, Eve, would you advocate for hookup culture?
First of all, what are we defining hookup culture as?
I don't think either of us are going to come in here and go with the thing that I think you're describing as hookup culture. I don't think either of us are going to advocate for it.
I'm not sitting here saying fuck purity culture. I'm pro hookup culture, whatever we're calling that. I'm I'm anti-purity culture.
Though as an individual, I'm fine hooking up and I'm fine with casual
Correct.
sex, but I'm not saying that this is the way for everybody. Yeah.
I'm against
Felix.
dogma across the board. So
Felix, the show you've called, it sucks because the thing I want to talk about, you're closer to what this show's topic technically is. Now, I said we could go anywhere, but Felix, I'm going to be a little bit of a dick because you're technically more right than me that we're supposed to be discussing purity culture if you call it in about purity culture. But you're a theist calling in with a religious people have better sex lives as part of your theistic advocacy. And I want to address 2 points. One, religious people are also conditioned to lie about reporting of how satisfying their life is, or to mis-audit their lives based on a set of arbitrary standards that doesn't actually indicate happiness. But let's throw that out. Let's throw that out, Felix, and let's just give you the point. Let's say nobody's lying. You're totally right. Religious people have better sex lives, which is fucking so stupid. Because for me to have a satisfying sex life, I need to have sex with all types of genitals, and I can't do that in any of the religions that I was entertaining, at least growing up. There are some progressive ones, but I want the dicks and the vaginas. I'm a fan of them both, but that's me. But that doesn't matter. Let's throw that out and give it to you. Religious people have better sex lives than atheists.
Overall.
Than secular people.
Overall.
Let's say that that's true. I'm positive it's not, but
Right,
let's
so
say it's
now
true.
what?
Does that make religion true? Does it make theism true? Because here's something I'll tell you what, Felix. Religious people have an easier time dealing with the death of family members and their own oncoming mortality. That is true. Than non-religious people. That doesn't make religion true. So let's just say sex is better if you're religious, which sounds so stupid to me, but let's say it's true. Would it make religion true? Would it make any religion true if that statistic was true?
The way you're using the word true is very problematic, and it's 150 years old. I wouldn't say art is true or false. It's subjective to the beauties in the eyes of the beholder.
No, okay.
Religion
Wait. You don't get to religion is art me. When we all are fucked into existence and we gain consciousness and we gain a level of self-awareness, we start interacting with reality. And the stove is either hot and that's true or false. And it's either bright outside or it's dim or it's not. And these are true or false propositions. I learn what is healthy and I learn what is unhealthy. And sometimes I'm wrong about what's healthy. Sometimes things that feel very good are long-term unhealthy. And sometimes there's nuance. But things are true or they aren't true. I'm queer or I'm not queer. You're Felix or you're not Felix. You're in Florida or you're not. And a religion is a claim. Almost every time, except for those religions that are like, there are no claims, and that is God, or something stupid like that, which in and of itself is also a claim. Felix, I care about whether or not I should live my life and expect reality to be a certain thing that not just comports with what I am experiencing, but everything that came before I was even capable of having experiences. And so it's either true or not. It's not a problematic term. There's no 150 years ago, we decided, you know what true means. And I'm saying I want to live by as many true things as possible and as few false things as possible. And whether or not I would have better sex if I became religious would not tell me whether or not any of those religions are true. Is that a correct statement, Felix?
If you switch the word true to fact,
do you know what the word pedantic means, Felix? And have you ever smelled your own fart and just been like, this is the best? Because it's what I'm experiencing from you right now. You know what I mean? I've established fucking too many times what true means. And you still wanted to say something like, well, if you switch it to fact, we've defined our terms. True is fine.
Right. Okay, true in terms of fact, fiction, science. Yeah, you're correct. You're correct.
Do you believe in God?
That's the way I'm approaching religion.
Do you believe in God? Felix, it's an easy yes or no question. Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Do you believe you have good
Yes.
reasons to believe in God?
Yes.
Are any of those reasons that you'd have better sex if you do? I hear the temptation to say kind of, but you be honest. Intellectual honesty, don't chase the meme.
Better sex is not evidence for God. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay. So at the end of the day, you've called in to say religious people have better sex based on a study that you like and embrace because it says the thing that you want it to. I think even I would rather listen to your good reasons for believing there's a God than us speculate about whether the sex point doesn't matter. I'll tell you, I've had better sex since I left religion, but I'm one
100%.
person. And so for myself, I'm not having the best sex ever right now because I'm so alone. But when I'm having sex, it's very nice. I've put the effort in. Felix, are you putting the effort in or are you fucking like a missionary? I'm just kidding. Don't answer that. Felix, what's a good reason to believe in God?
Since we evolved as a species,
Mm-hmm.
we were programmed biologically to just be religious. You can go to ancient, extinct caves and see drawings, rituals. They bury their dead. So we as a species evolved to be religious.
Well, burying your dead isn't religious exclusively. I get what you're saying. And you might actually be right. We might be hardwired to deceive ourselves whenever answers are too uncomfortable to leave as I don't know. That's what I would describe as it seems like that's present. I wouldn't describe it as we are hard programmed to create silly rituals about so-and-so in the sky who's going to forgive us for the things that he programmed us to do and save us from the things he was going to do to us for doing what he programmed us to do. I'm not going to, that's not what I would describe. But as far as we have a sense of comforting ourselves with self-delusion when I don't knows are so large that they're uncomfortable to leave as an I don't know, we might, I would say not only that we might, it seems likely that is something genetically wired to us to do. That's not a good reason for God to exist. You've just acknowledged evolution. You've just acknowledged biology. I can give you hypotheses on why we would have evolved something like that, like we do with anything else that we evolved. And it's always for natural reasons. In this case, it might literally just be it keeps your blood pressure lower. Like it could be something that fucking stupid. So Felix, let's try again. What's a good reason to believe in God?
I just gave you one.
No, you didn't. You gave me a good reason.
If anything, that's a reason not to.
Right. You just gave us a good reason to want to believe in God, not a good reason to believe in God.
I wasn't prepared for that question. I was talking about the purity culture, If I would have prepared an argument. I just wasn't ready for this question. I was just talking about religious people have better sex.
Okay.
So are you advocating for purity culture?
I'm advocating for a balanced middle ground because I think that just people having sex with whoever, whenever, I think it's really hurting our culture. Like it's damaging society. But purity culture also has really bad things to it too. So I just think there's a middle ground.
What do you think is more harmful? People being able to make decisions and have bodily autonomy, or people being forced to practice a culture around sex where they're all there can be harmful aspects of an opposite extreme, whatever you want to call that, for purity culture, but to advocate against bodily autonomy doesn't make any sense.
It's so boring too. Is the problem I have with this thing? Does God exist is an exciting conversation. And Felix, I want you to. Will you call back Sunday and have that conversation with us? And don't worry, I'm gonna I'm going to bring us back to what Eve just brought up with you, but will you prepare between now and Sunday so we can have the is God real? What's a good reason to believe in God? Will you do that? And will you call Sunday, please? I'm asking as your friend, and we're buddies now.
I cannot promise this Sunday.
Okay.
I cannot promise this Sunday, but I promise I can call back another day.
Thank you.
I'll prepare an argument like I did today.
Thank you.
I gave you guys a study and everything.
Yeah. Okay.
I know that study well. I know that study. Yeah.
Here's the thing that I think would happen, Felix, is if you actually correctly identified what the middle ground was, Eve and I think, would both agree with you. We should exist in the middle. But you've misrepresented what the extremes are. And this happens with abortion all the time. People say we should do the middle ground. They don't acknowledge the fact that pro-choice is the middle ground. Pro-life, the opposite of pro-life would be mandated abortion. No, the middle ground is you decide on your own autonomy. No one decides for you and no one decides against it. If we're going to say purity culture is the one extreme, the opposite would either be mandated sex or sexual with anybody or some sort of sexual anarchy. The middle ground is you fucking decide your sexual destiny.
Consent, bodily autonomy, age of consent, all of these things matter. That's just normal. That's, of course.
So, Felix, would you say that you believe a person's sexual destiny should be up to themselves and that there should be good resources for them to make that decision on an educated basis, but ultimately it should be them who decide, right? Is that what you believe?
Ultimately, I have problems with middle schoolers running around and sleeping.
That's okay.
It's irresponsible. Like we have a
Felix,
driver's license.
That's a totally different. Let's start with adults. Because what you're talking about, I agree, is complicated. It's hard to figure out how to police the sexuality of children. Because we know they're sexual, because I was as a child. We know they're gonna do stuff. And so what the right answers for children having sex with each other is, that's fucking complicated as shit. And that we could take all night long to do. Let's start with just adults. Was the statement that I made what you believe?
Adults should be able to decide for themselves who they sleep with.
Their sexual destiny should be up to them, but resources should exist to educate them in making those decisions, right?
Just like drugs, I'm treating it kind of like drugs, where there should be some restrictions because it can do a lot of damage. STDs can go around and harm people. So there's just free for all sex whenever.
That's not what I said. That's not what I advocated for. I advocated for it's up to you as an adult. And you should have, because we live in a society which is capable, access to resources and education to better make that decision. Those are the two things.
Yeah.
We both agree on that, right?
Resources and education. I like that. Yes,
Hell yeah.
Yes, I agree.
So our middle ground, we actually agree on. The specifics get muddy. I agree. Because now we'd have to get into, do you think that plentiful and easy access to things like not even just abortion, but birth control and shit should be? And I think we as a society have the resources to do it. So yes, fuck yeah, we should do that. Should you have access to those same things for people who are under 18? Not only should you have to. Otherwise, you end up with a bunch of pregnant teenagers. Because kids are going to fuck whether you want them to or not. And then we get to this other level of how do we police kids fucking? Because kids are idiots. And there are a lot of decisions you shouldn't let them make for themselves until they actually have the brain capacity to do. Does that mean abstinence only? Fuck no. Because first of all, it doesn't work. So we have to figure out what the middle ground is. Because abstinence only doesn't work, and you're not going to stop kids from fucking each other. But you can stop them from making terrible, stupid decisions or reduce them from making terrible, stupid decisions. And hopefully you can hold off on them making some more serious decisions like, I'm ready to get married, which, by the way, Felix, I hope you would also agree that one of the bad side effects of religion is encouraging children to decide if they should get married. I hope you would agree that that's a negative. Right. How to police all that stuff becomes very complicated. But I think you'll actually see that you who sound somewhat progressively minded, the actual middle ground you and we agree upon It's the other shit that's harder to figure out.
Yeah, there's a lot of statements there I agree with. I disagree here. I think religious people approach sex much more responsibly. Not the forcing sex on people. Or, but
Felix.
Safe, committed relationships, they do it better because...
Felix, religion is where we got fake it till you make it. Religion is where we told women who are lesbians to cure their lesbians by getting married and letting their husband rape them and letting them feel like it isn't rape. And here I've gone and gotten the episode demonetized because we have to get it serious. Religion is where we have gotten your sexuality doesn't matter. Your husband's sexuality matters. Whether you are asexual doesn't matter. Whether your husband is asexual matters. Whether sex hurts for you doesn't matter. Whether your husband wants to hurt you is what matters. That's what religion has given us. If you want to say it's been more responsible because people have less partners, so there's a less occurrence of STDs, you're ignoring a lot of fucking rape.
Yep.
Because of less
rape
STDs.
Is horrific. Okay, rape that is horrific, and I agree with that. And these awful ideas, this patriarchal approach to sex, has imposed itself onto religion, but they come from humans. So it's more like a positive view of religion.
That's all of religion is humans, dude. What do you think you've just shared? Religion is humans making shit up, my guy. It's different than science because science is where humans identify things and then describe it. They still use social constructs like language, but religion is pretending to do that with what your dick tells you is the best idea. Or in other cases, sometimes not the dick. Unfortunately, there are women and people who are dickless out there who are willing to still scam other people in the name of religion. Again, that's where astrology is more popular too. But astrology doesn't advocate for rape. Christianity does. And when you come here to represent religion and a study that says 10,000 people, blah, 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 that is mostly Christian people. If it was taken in America, if it was taken in most of Europe. If you want to tell me it was taken in fucking like the Middle East, now I'm really going to throw it the fuck out. Because not only would the religious people be incentivized to lie, the non-religious people will be incentivized to lie too, to not be outed.
Okay, that's a good point. Let's bring it to Christianity because that's the UK is sort of pretty much Christian.
And that's where purity culture primarily comes. I mean, it comes from evangelical Christianity primarily. That's what made it so popular. But that study, that gets thrown at me all the time, anytime I talk about purity culture. And the problem is, like we said earlier, first of all, I didn't know if I was having good or bad sex when I was 19 years old, had never done anything, not even touched somebody else's hand until I'm now in this marriage. Also, marital coercion, now you're already demonetizing it, so we can say whatever we want, but that I have not spoken to a single ex-evangelical woman that's been divorced that did not experience that in her marriage. It is so prevalent, and I'm 100% sure that I would have lied in that survey, and I would have said, yes, because I am technically having good sex, as in I'm fulfilling my duty as a wife. I'm doing what I'm supposed to, so that's supposed to be good sex. So those studies are bullshit. And not helpful. Never mind the fact that who the fuck cares who's having better sex? That doesn't equal truth. But yeah, it's completely discrediting the stories of the victims of purity culture. It does not tell us anything good about purity culture, that study specifically.
By the way, Felix, if you become a photographer and you've only ever seen one photo in your entire life, how do you evaluate what a good photo is?
Precisely.
I know I'll stay committed to that.
So what?
What's the value
Felix,
in that?
Felix, this is like a religious specific fallacy. The idea that if a marriage lasts, it was a good marriage, or that a relationship lasts, it was a good relationship. My parents should get divorced. They are not only miserable with each other, they make other people miserable by staying together. there are lots of people who have gotten divorced after, say, 10 years, who had a 9-year, very successful relationship. Even my last relationship, which I have big issues with how it ended and things, the first year was pretty great. It was like it was a 2-year relationship with 1 successful year on it. This idea of the only way that commitment is success is if you adhere to the commandment that says it does. I don't adhere to it. I use more objective means, and I'm not going to use something so arbitrary and stupid that came out of the penis of another man who didn't want his wife to leave him, and he had the authority to tell her she couldn't, because that's where that commandment comes from.
Yeah, I don't think either side is a perfect solution to all of humanity's problems.
Except for that,
advocate for sure.
Except for you just use either side as though we're advocating for the thing that we said we're not, the extreme. We're literally saying we agree with you at our core. On the core thing, it's these other details that surround the religion that are absurd.
Do you agree that there's virtue in a family staying together and working harder for their marriage?
No, because my family stayed together and it ruined my life. My family stayed together and that's what ruined my life. Not only would my life have been better if my parents had gotten divorced, my family would have been better if I had ended up in fucking foster care. I would have ended up better. It is not a universal thing. Now, if you want to go with demographically, what sets a person up statistically most often for success, you can say demographically it is usually the case, but anytime you set, not even usually, but just majority of time, it's more often the case than not. So maybe usually works. So if you set a standard by what the majority of things work, the majority of the times things work, what usually works, you fuck everybody else who it doesn't work for. So you don't set that standard. There are great families that stayed together. There are great families that didn't. There are couples who stayed together that made each other miserable. And there are couples that broke up and ended up being basically family to each other afterwards. Mm-hmm. You're just speaking in these sort of like conventional wisdom, and religion has convinced me of that. I don't live that fucking way. Do I wish I had grown up in a 2-parent home with constructive parents who took care of me, who loved me before these mandates they got from religion? Yeah, I do. And that would have set me up better. But as far as what realistically could have happened in my life, I wish they would have gotten a divorce and I would have ended up in foster care, or one of the two. Either one would have probably solved it. And by the way, my family is, I'm not saying wished I was up in foster care without understanding the weight of that. That's literally where half of my siblings come from. I'm fully aware of what happens to kids in foster care and what a crapshoot that shit is. And I'm still saying with that knowledge, no, my family shouldn't have stayed together. What now, Felix? That was what your whole argument depended on.
It sounds anecdotal from your situation.
Fine. Except for that I just told you.
You can give me a...
I'm not saying that my thing should... I'm not saying because what happened to me, all families should break up. I just told you, even if it's true that the majority of families set children up for success in what you're describing, you can't set that as the universal rule across the board, because the majority is not everybody. And if you set that as the rule across the board, you ruin the others' lives.
I agree. Universal absolutes in anything will destroy people's lives. I agree with that. And I think you guys can agree that if a large amount of people waited for marriage to have sex,
nope,
and stayed monogamous,
nope,
it would work for them.
Nope. You're already wrong. I know that you're wrong, because not only do I not think no sentence am I going to agree with that begins with people should wait until marriage and then stay monogamous. I literally don't think anyone.
You want to wait for a piece of paper?
I literally don't think anyone should wait until marriage to have sex. Not one fucking person do I think should wait to have sex until marriage.
Commitment before sex. Commitment
to what?
Why? And
the relationship.
Why?
Commitment
because
for how long?
Physical pleasure,
commitment for what?
a relationship where sex is not the main reason we're together. Like, it's you value the person as a whole.
What if I want to have a sexual relationship?
What's wrong with having a sexual relationship just for the sake of having sex if both adults are consenting and are good with that?
And are being safe.
So yeah, that's just sex. You can. That's hookup culture.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. Then what you're describing now as hookup culture is not what you were talking about at the beginning of the call. Because if I, as a person, I could meet somebody tonight and make that fucking arrangement with, and I'd be happy as a clam. Sex is the one thing missing in my life. I'm fucking killing it otherwise. So I don't know if I want to run with the whole fucking commitment and whatever. But if I meet somebody who respects my body enough to make sure that our sex is safe, and who respects me enough to make sure that they're never putting me in any danger, and that they're going to communicate with me when we fuck, so that there's never times where we're like, hey, that's not where I like fingers to go. Sorry to get graphic, but stay out of my butt. Like, that's fucking my business. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what I want and we're doing it healthily. The thing you were describing was this sort of chaotic anarchy that is resulting, because you quoted it, in STDs. We're not advocating for anything that would result in STDs, because everybody would be smart and get tested and not put other people in danger that way. At the end of the day, most times that STDs spread, somebody was kind of an asshole.
Yeah, Felix, what would be the issue with two consenting adults being safe and having a sexual relationship with zero commitment? And both of them are privy to that and are good with it. What would be your issue with that?
No, the way you phrased it, there will be no issue.
Great.
Okay.
So what point do you have left? Because we've
why
debunked
did you
it
say
all.
they have to? Yeah, why did you say you think it's better that somebody wait for marriage? That people should wait for marriage,
Not
and
just
sex
that we'd
requires
agree.
commitment. And you said that sex requires commitment. Why does sex require commitment if both people are being safe?
You're talking about it on just the sexual experience. I'm talking about relationships.
You're going in and out with this microphone. Can you just keep it one distance away from your face or something? I don't know what's going on, man. You go from, I hear you, and then you go quiet.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Thanks.
Long-term committed monogamous relationship, the sexual experience, long-term overall. That's my main argument, as best as I can understand in this conversation.
And you're wrong.
So your question is, okay.
You're wrong. And the culture that promotes it and says that the question that promotes what you're promoting and says that that is the gold standard and shames people for not meeting it are keeping people in relationships that they wish they weren't in and would be better outside of, are keeping people having sex that they don't want to be having, are causing marital coercion. What you're describing as we should uphold as the gold standard results in shaming for people who come up short of it. And it's not, you can't actually justify it as the gold standard, because you can't justify that the gold standard is whether or not a relationship lasted. In the same way that at the beginning of the call, we said whether the sex is better or not doesn't make religion or God true or not. Whether or not a person stays with someone for life does not mean they had a good relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. Felix, please call.
I have nothing new to say. I don't want to go in circles.
I got you.
Again, so.
Yeah, you're good. Call me about God, please, Felix. Please.
Thanks for talking, Felix.
All right.
Thank you.
God bless you guys. And Eve, I'm also an ex-evangelical, so I totally understand all the pain that purity culture brings. But you know, it's more complex. But I appreciate your story as well. God bless you guys. Take care.
Oh,
thanks, Felix.
You ended it. No, thanks. You ended it with God bless you. So now fuck you. But please do call back. Fuck you. God fuck you.
I don't think you understand the complexities if you're citing an article in favor of a culture that promotes women being harmed in the masses. So
right. Also, the idea was, I mean, he's not here, so I'm not going to go on about this long and say something that maybe he'll not agree with. But the idea was purity culture is bad, but the other side is worse. So basically, like, be more on the purity culture side of it, but I understand how much pain and harm it causes. And by the way, at our core, we actually agree on the actual middle ground position, but still, let's pop over here and let's hold this thing as a gold standard that I can't establish is the gold standard. You have no idea how much I wish my parents would have gotten a divorce and still should.
Right.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah. To me, it sounds like he just has not evaluated most of his beliefs. He has those core things that he thinks that I understand. I used to think those, but I had no idea why I thought them. I just been told, like, a marriage that lasts is good, and saving sex is better, and why. So yeah, ask more questions.
And he's at a disadvantage when he's talking to either you or I, because you or I have spoken to so many women who have had to fuck when they didn't want to, in the name of what he is on the side of. Even though he says he's not in favor of that. It's kind of like when one Nazi comes to your rally and everyone decides the Nazi can stay, it's now a Nazi rally. And when one rapist shows up to your side, it's now the rapist side if you don't eject them.
Yep.
That's just how I feel. But obviously we're both very passionate about it. And also, obviously, as everybody witnessed, Eve is much more eloquent and elegant when speaking about it. My mic is wobbling.
you said some good shit. I appreciate it.
Yours was better, but I did have to hear my own voice, as everybody is established. Last call, Rich from New York. We're going to make this one probably pretty quick, and I already see the topic. I think it'll be easy to make quick. But Rich, go ahead and share your thought with us that you want to hear our commentary upon.
Okay, just real quick. Glad I got through. And some of these subjects had me slamming my head against the wall, screaming at these people, as you screamed.
Thank you.
It was hilarious. But the ironic thing is the subject that I'm talking about, the last couple of calls have proved my point.
Mm-hmm.
The grooming that Christianity does to the women, to the children, is nowhere near the grooming that a LGBTQ plus person going to read a story in a school does. It is just...
that's a little bit poorly phrased, but I think I know what you're saying. As far as
you lost me for a second, but I got it.
The percentage
What do you mean? What I'm saying is that the way, and because I'm from your background, I'm coming from a devoutly Christian, raised by grandparents born in 1890. This purity, the purity culture that you're speaking of, is not only they've given it a name, but it's always been around. Do you know how many people especially, and I'm African American. Do you know how many African American black Christians I know who get serial marriage because in the end they want sex, and so they think they must get married. They stay married for 3 fucking years, and then they turn around. They meet some woman 6 months down the road because they're horny, and they say, "Okay, I got to get married." I watch it all the time, and I tell people this, and they say, "Oh no, that's not the reason." Then they groom, forget about what they do to the daughters. They groom the daughters, like you said, that they groom them to be submissive to these asshole men. The church I grew up in, I've talked to people from the church that I grew up in, and I left around 18, 19, and I became an atheist. I'm 62 now.
Sure.
How many of these lovely women I knew who were getting beat by their husbands at home? This, and the ministers telling them, you got to stick through it. God will see you through. Yeah. You talk about grooming. Nothing. I've become so impassioned about it.
Yeah,
and
no, I get it.
It's got to be, I think there's got to be a way of turning this shit on them when they talk about people going, and they talk about, you're letting these people dress around your children, you're grooming your children to be trans and all that. And meanwhile, what they're doing is the most grooming and most destructive that can be done.
Yeah, I think when you're asking what you can do about it, I think you watched Eve and I, or listened to Eve and I do it in the last week, and you kind of said it. You said, how can you flip it on them? By flipping it on them. By telling them what, it's something that I've been noticing with right-wing people where it's like, and all we care about are like, Epstein Island and all these Democrats that were probably out on Epstein Island fucking kids. And then they're like, and by the way, that very serious looking investigation where the person who said he was helping Matt Gaetz fuck teenagers No, that's been planted. That's
Right.
been planted. So that we said we care about the kid, but that, and then when you see the video of Donald Trump talking to a fucking 11-year-old and her friend and going, you know, in a few years, I'm going to be dating her. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that crazy? That's fine. That's fine. He's literally flirting with a fucking 11-year-old. Or when he goes on Howard Stern and he goes, you know, that I got to walk through in Teen USA, in the Teen USA pageant, I just walk into the dressing rooms and that's fine. He's literally saying he's walking in on teenagers fucking changing, but he's not a danger to the children.
And he does it because he runs it. But just another quick thing that you talked about, this guy talked about long marriages. Do you know how many marriages I know that men abuse their women for 30 or 40 years and now they're old and together and they're talking about, oh, we're glad we stayed together. Do you know I've watched in my family where I had an abusive sibling who was emotionally and physically abusive to his children, to his wife, and now his grandson. But they've been together for 45 years.
Therefore, it's successful.
Kiss my fucking ass.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. All of this gets me so upset because I watch the damage and the destruction it does.
By the way, it's a trait of narcissism. I just say it's a trait of narcissism to accuse other people of what you're doing. And what I think is funny is you see a lot of groups of people who individually aren't narcissists, but they act in a narcissistic collective. It's the source of almost all online cyberbullying. It's the source of what a lot of people are calling cancel culture, but it's also the source of this fucking like QAnon, we're here to save the kids and stop trafficking, even though a lot of us are Catholics.
They traffic them in their own way.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm just letting you know that just a place close to your heart. I'm up here near Palmyra, where your great leader was from.
Yeah, you're from Palmyra. That's funny. My great leader.
No, I'm near. I'm not. No. I would never. I won't even go to the town. But But yeah,
I don't blame you.
It's funny.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, Rich. I think the answer to your question that Eve and I are saying is literally flip it on them. Give them the examples of what they ignore, and then walk away. Because how the fuck are you going to reason with people who go, my child molesters are fine, but the ones that I suspect are on your side that I don't have any proof of, but I think Hillary Clinton, while pursuing her political career, wanted to spend an extra 40 hours a week running a pedo ring out of the bottom of a pizza shop. That's the big problem. That's the big problem. And that's what you do.
Yeah, and if you see a man dressed in a dress, you know what? It's going to make all your children want to wear a dress.
Right.
What the fuck are you talking about?
It's no one's shown more people men in dresses that didn't result in cross dressing than the fucking Catholic Church. I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh my God.
I like talking to somebody from New York, Rich, though. I'm from, my family is from Long Island. And so whenever I'm talking to someone from New York, that drawl starts to come out. You hear it. It's coming. I'm like,
you just said Long Island. Know that. You just said Guyland.
Guyland. That's right. Yeah. Long Island.
Only people from Long Island can say Long Island.
That's right.
Everybody else is Long Island.
Hit me up when I'm visiting, Rich.
I don't know where that's at from.
We'll head to Domenico's and have good pizza when I'm in the area. Let me know.
Yeah, you should come up to the CFI in Buffalo, the Center for Inquiry.
Yeah, if I want to. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. I'm. You're right, but I'm tempted to make fun of how Buffalo's not New York. But I'll let it go.
Yeah, you're right. I'm from the Catskills, so I understand.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, that corner, this corner that I live in now is not really part of New York State, and actually they act like it up here too. It's a totally different world.
Yeah, they don't want us as much as we don't want them. Cut it off. They could be a different state.
Let's break away from New York City.
That's right.
That's 80% of your damn economy, stupid. But we won't talk about that.
That's true. Enjoy your life without our subsidies. Anyway, Rich, thank you for calling.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Any other thoughts you wanted to share on the topic before we switch over to Super Chats?
No, that was great. That was fun.
It is so fucking ironic as you just see them project so much. And then the way they get so excited about anything that shows that they're a hypocrite, where they're like suddenly very serious about classified documents when Biden may have left some classified documents in an office, though literally like nobody wants to talk about the specifics of they found documents that were locked up and secured and immediately alerted the National Archives so it could be taken care of. And that's exactly the same as being told you stole documents from the White House and then you only returned some and they had to fucking come into your home to take the rest back by force. These are the same. These are the same.
It's the same way of thinking. Yep. And they'll care.
He should be in jail. That Joe Biden. Okay, a lot of people are saying. I know someone in the live chat was asking for that earlier, so I was just delivering.
It's an amazing impression.
Thank you.
No, it's really frustrating. I hear from evangelical leaders, they'll talk about all these conspiracy theories, of which there is zero base to, and then people will come to them in their own congregation saying, "I was abused" or whatever it is, and they won't believe it. It's just like, oh, do you actually value victims or not? Clearly not. So.
Right. When it's somebody I like, it's a conspiracy. When it's somebody I dislike,
or when it would cost something, when it would require them to actually do something. Because with conspiracies, all they have to do is sit there and be angry. If someone's actually approaching them with an actual victim, then they actually have to address it. So
yeah. And we're not even just talking about, because a lot of people are like, well, but that's you get a bad egg everywhere. These are bad egg fucking systems. It's like they're putting ads out saying like, do you like molesting children? Well, have you thought about a system where you wear some whack clothings and kids are too ashamed to tell on you? Or do you like getting your rocks off, listening to teenagers describe their masturbatory habits? Become a Mormon bishop. Yeah. Like the fuck? The fuck is how is it that these things that it's not even surprising result in abuse and you don't want to do anything after the fucking 10 millionth account of it, after it's been thousands of kids in a single fucking parish? Like, I feel strongly. So anyway. I said the R word in this episode. We are demonetized. We're going to get demonetized almost certainly. There's always the possibility that the bot won't notice and no Christian will report it. So maybe not. But to that end, this is basically my way of saying this is an extra good day to super chat us so you can help pay for our costs. We're hiring more people. Obviously, we're expanding programming. And one of the main ways we fund all of the shit we do and have so many people working at the line is what you all do with this little super chat Q&A. So any super chat of $5 or more, we will read and respond to. If somebody wants an impression, you're welcome to request it. I'm sure by now most of you know which ones I do. And otherwise, we'll just have fun and see where these conversations go from those super chats. Also, I will say a little bit selfishly, HOSTility is my favorite show. This show where we have somebody different every week and I'm just showing you like people I like and want to platform. But because it's more obscure and it's not something that people can rely on with a consistent pattern, this show is also one of the less popular of the shows on the line for that reason. So if you agree that this is the greatest show, it's the best show to support with your super chats. It means much more to come. And you'll definitely see more Eve on this channel, not just here, by the way, if Eve will come back.
I would love to.
Great. We'll start with $5 from Helljumper, who had said Jimmy Snow is Jesus Christ, which was so funny because I was doing a bit with Eve before the show where I was explaining where I see myself in the atheist community. And I'm like, how there's like a Messiah or a prophet. That's me. But it's a joke because I'm actually trying to move behind production more.
Away from it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get behind the monitors and the computers and the cameras over the next few years to where it's actually like a treat when I show up, as opposed to now where everybody's like, God, Jimmy, I can't escape this fucker. Whoever runs the line needs to shut that fucker up. That's my favorite comment we get. It's people be like, someone needs to tell whoever runs the line that all of their guests are good except Jimmy. And I'm like, boy. Someone does need to tell whoever runs the line that very, very thing.
Oh my God.
Anyway, do you want to read every other one? Do you want to alternate?
Sure. So we've got Nilly Wilson here saying more intros like this, please and thanks. That was a great intro. You just having this stream of consciousness going on.
It was to cover the, like when you burp or fart, so you try to make like it around people, and you try to explain it away. You like start
move around, yeah.
You like start skidding your shoes, and you're like, wow, this shoe sounds exactly like a fart. Smells like it too. It was that sort of thing where I realized the mic was open because I think I hit stream and then went like. And I was like, oh shit, I have to pretend this was on purpose.
Great job.
And then we did a whole 2 minutes on it.
Amazing.
But thank you all. I don't even remember what I said. And by the way, that Nilly Wilson had sent 10 Canadian dollars. We always say alleged dollars for Canadian. And then this is Australian, which we just call straight up fake money. Aussie Atheist says, it's a great day here in Ballarat. Cardinal Pell is dead. Cardinal Pell's bell has rung, dead at 81. Wow. Good. I wish there was an afterlife so you could see how happy I am. Fuck you, you child molester covering for fuckface. I fucking hated you. And while I don't believe in the death penalty, I'm fucking glad you're dead. The world is better because you're not in it. Fuck you. Whew. I don't have strong feelings either way. Fuck you, Cardinal Pell. Do you know who Cardinal Pell is?
I've heard, I just heard somebody recently, actually. I don't remember where, probably a TikTok, but.
Yeah, he fucking sucks. He sort of is famous in atheist circles because he went on Q&A with Richard Dawkins back when Richard Dawkins wasn't a nightmare. Yeah, and they sort of did a debate back and forth, and that sort of put him into, and then more locally in Australia, they were obviously aware of these sort of sex abuse scandals where he at minimum helped cover them up. I think there is some implication he might have also participated, but I can't say that for sure. And this is a man who almost became the Pope, and boy. What did he die of? Was it like cardiac arrest? My thoughts and feelings go out to cardiac arrest. Fuck you, Cardinal Pell. I sort of stole that joke. That's not mine.
It's a good one.
Oh, I'm so glad you're dead. Anyway, that wasn't my best moment. Go ahead. This one's for you.
$20 from Christopher Richardson. Jimmy, you produce the best shows. Love your work. Is there a place we can see a schedule of the shows and who is hosting so we viewers can plan when to call in with our questions?
That is going to happen. And it's going to happen when I get everybody on board with being able to plan a show more than the day before that the show is happening. That is when that is going to happen. Because like right now, I'm still waiting to confirm Thursday's show. I found out who Mandisa Thomas will be on Matt's show tomorrow.
Love her so much.
She's great. And so we're basically waiting. It's basically, yes, I hope that happens soon. Though I will say this, and I should have said this at the beginning of the show, we're trying to get more Patreon support so we can hire an audio engineer to do the podcast for him. So here's the little thing for people. We're going to start doing these Zoom meetings for patrons. The first one is this Sunday at 7 p.m. CST. You're going to be able to Zoom with Matt and I. It'll be after the Sunday show, Matt and I, then there's a 2-hour break where I go and do Aron's show. And then when I'm done with Aron's show, we're going to do a Zoom. So anybody who's a patron can join on Sunday and chill with Matt and I. Maybe you can play with Matt some chess. I don't fucking know. So become a patron if you want to be a part of that, and if you want to see all of these shows in podcast form in the future. But anyway, the answer to your question is eventually, but not yet. James Call says, I was on hold but chickened out. Thanks for the show. To people who do, man, I probably give off this vibe that even if you're a supporter and you're nice and stuff, that I'm going to be mean to you. And I hope I have not a single caller that we had tonight have I taken a thing personally. I would hang out with all of them. I'd get coffee with all of them. I'd get coffee with fucking Charlie that I screamed at yesterday. I wouldn't get coffee with the other asshole who calls in about my teeth all the time. I am the savior of you. I healed your teeth. Whatever that fucking weird bullshit is. Like,
what the fuck?
Yeah, he's just a weird dude. Just a weird fucking guy. I want to get it with that guy. I'd get a coffee with Emmanuel. And Emmanuel's in Texas. If Emmanuel ever hits me up, calling every single time to make the worst arguments, I'd get coffee with Emmanuel. Every death is caused by cardiac arrest. Fair enough, student Dr. Ben. Fair enough. Anyway, here's the next one. This one's you.
$5 from Larry. I don't want to screw up this last name. Is it Fishman? Probably. Yeah. I recommend that everyone watch the film Teeth. It's the best feminist film and analysis of Christian purity culture of the noughties. I
can't agree.
I can't agree either.
The thing about Teeth is, look, I'm not usually going to be the type that's like, you gotta, like, when you're in pursuit of feminism, don't be too hard on men. That's not usually going to be the thing I say. But the thesis of Teeth is every man you meet will rape you except maybe your dad. Like, that's the thesis of Teeth.
Yeah. It's an insight, I think, if anything, if we're taking it that direction on how women, unfortunately, have to think a lot of times.
That's true.
And I think that's about it.
It's yeah. And then it's like, even if you think you found the right safe person, they're also going to turn. And I get there's like this powerful, like, feminist side of, like, taking it back, biting dicks off. That's the superhero power of this person. And that's cool. But it is like,
right.
I don't know, man. It's a pretty dark message. It's a pretty dark. I don't know. Again, usually down with the patriarchy and all men are terrible. That one I just feel goes so far, too far. I would say all men are bastards. You can't do the same thing you do with ACAB, because AMAB is already a term that means something else. It means assigned male at birth. And so you can't just yell AMAB. No one will know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah. I like that I'm going to get emails about being a bigot and saying that as a man, that somebody's going to be like, you fucking, that's like one of the number one hate emails I get, is how I say men are terrible people.
You're hating on men. Yeah.
Yep. Well. Thank you for the marks. Ooh. Is that what it next is? From Rastaman. Cool. Tiffany M says, I have atheist friends who are superstitious and it drives me crazy. Great show tonight, Eve. Love your stuff. Thanks for what you both do. Jimmy, love all the new shows and all the line does. Thank you. Tell your friends and tell people that you know used to watch it and didn't know that it's gotten fucking incredible, because no one seems to know how good this channel is, including people who have seen the channel before, and wonderful, amazing people who I fucking love will, like, say guest host on this, and I'll go, hey, have you seen The Line? And they'll be like, it's been a while. And they don't know that there's so much good stuff. I wasn't going to call anyone out, but there's been so much good stuff. And this channel is cranking out the best atheist content there is.
Thank you, Tiffany, by the way, for the comment. That was sweet.
Also, that. I also love what Eve does. This one's yours.
$10 from Candace Crosby. Thank y'all for helping me through my deconstruction. I can't possibly verbalize how grateful I am for y'all's hard work. I wish I could give y'all more money.
I thought you gave us anything.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Seriously. So nice. And by the way, I hate to do this every time, but thank yourself more.
Yeah.
Like, you deserve a lot of credit for what you did. This shit's hard. You basically chose a traumatic experience, and you didn't have to, but it was for your own good in the long run, and I'm proud of you for it.
Yes. All the best.
Yeah. We have $20 from Sassy. Purity culture has absolutely destroyed normal for me. Thank you both for this important discussion for those of us healing and trying to raise the next generation. I'm also terrified for the next generation.
Yeah.
Because it's not, man, there's a lot. The fucking crazy thing is, it's not only religion who is interested in the sexuality of minors. It's most corporations, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of corporations. It's social media. It sucks because we hit a very specific thing. But what I'm doing isn't going to, like, I can't think of content I'm doing that's going to stop a lot of little girls from getting eating disorders. And that's going to stop a lot of little boys from knowing when to stop being so coercive. That, I guess, does come in some, but we don't talk about that specific topic often. And yet that's what people are internalizing right now. Because fucking Andrew Tate isn't winning boys over with messages of Islam, even as he says he's a Muslim. He's not winning them over with that. He's winning them over with find the stupid ones or the insecure ones, railroad them, make them agree because they love you, and don't ever turn back and have no regrets. And it's funny because, like, I purposefully was scrolling a bunch of Andrew Tate shorts the other day because I was doing response videos to Andrew Tate before anyone knew who he was, because I'm better than every other YouTuber. But no, that was a joke. I've been doing it for a while, but most of the videos are the ones where it's like, okay, this is an obviously stupid or outrageous or sensational thing.
Right.
I wanted to watch the stuff that like 14-year-old, and I totally get it. I totally get why fucking 14-year-olds love this guy, because he seems like a father figure type of person who is basically saying, like, even though you're not where I am now, when we see him from where we usually are, we're seeing him condescending to people who call him out and calling them brokies and all of this shit. But his message to little 14-year-old kids is, I'm going to teach you how to get bitches and get money. And to a 14-year-old boy whose penis is 95% of his fucking life, that message is extremely appealing.
That's enough. Yeah.
And so it's not just purity culture y'all have to fight against. Sorry, I took it in a totally different direction but it's been on my mind a lot lately. I was pausing in case you had a thought you wanted to.
Oh, no. That was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we should probably delete Instagram. For everything that everybody loves out of Instagram, it's not worth the number of little girls with eating disorders that it is the reason for.
And beyond even eating disorders, because now you have all the facial distortion, and it's just set a very bizarre, and now all this AI stuff, it's getting weird. Know. Yeah, I'm with you. It's gonna be interesting to see how this all plays out.
The fun stuff is fun. I liked the story you said you were going to come on the show and you had like face tattoos on. I thought that was very funny.
Playing around is fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you have people that only can use that to talk and communicate. And then you have young girls thinking that that's how somebody looks. And it's a crazy, unattainable.
Yep. Totally agree. You're very, very right. So I used to be a photographer. I think we talked about it a little bit. I was a photographer for a living. And when I saw this AI challenge everybody was doing with these photos, I was like, holy shit, thank goodness I'm not a photographer anymore. Because being a portrait photographer there's less than 10 years left of that mattering. Like they're all going to be out of business. If AI was that good, the first time people really tried to do something like that.
Right.
Fucking photographers are fun. And most of those people are making these incredible photos as them like Na'vi or like in a Marvel movie or what fucking like anything you can imagine off of photos from their phone. It's not professional portraits. And if you put a professional portrait in, it doesn't get a better result than a non-professional. Photographers, if you're a photographer now, figure out how to just do it for the love of it, because you're not going to make money for much longer. You are fucked.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We have Jordan. As there are a lot of priests who abuse children, is there a loophole or gray area in Christian doctrine that allows for it? Or is it just about the opportunity that comes with working with children?
It's the same loophole that exists everywhere in religion or in most of Christianity. You get forgiveness from God, not the person you did something to.
Correct.
That's it.
But there's not like a doctrine teaching people to sexually abuse children. However, they've definitely, more or less. Yeah, there's
in
definitely
Mormonism,
nothing talking about consent or anything else like that either, though. And there's a lot of physical abuse that is absolutely defended, not just defended, encouraged by biblical teachings or what people decide are biblical teachings. So,
Yeah, Ember in the chat said, as a still active photographer, yep, all my photo colleagues are panicking, lol. Yeah, I have like secondhand anxiety where I can imagine that alternate universe where I'm still a photographer right now, and I can make myself sick with worry about how homeless I'm about to be. Like, It's fucking, yeah. Anyway.
Oh.
TD says, hashtag demonetized. Sometimes it's just worth it to say what needs to be said. Thank you for giving me something to hide behind, because I can't say whether or not I couldn't have communicated it in a way that would have maintained monetization, but I can say that I couldn't. Not I couldn't existentially, I couldn't. The moment came where it was, nope, this is what I'm saying.
It's happening.
So whether it's true that I couldn't. That you understand what I'm saying, right? That's not, I didn't just say nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
cool.
totally.
Cool.
Mario, do what?
No, I just said this is you. Yeah.
Mario Seaman says, chipping in what I can. Thank you, Mario.
I would have made that so Italian sounding. I'd have been.
Just do it, please.
Mario Bartolome Siamen. I'm chipping in what I can. I hope I didn't offend you, Mario. I hope you still like the show.
Oh,
Plastic Citizen says, just showing support. Very, very much appreciate that. We got a few more here. Thank you all so much. I think this is the greatest show on all of YouTube. Me getting to talk to people I like, tricking them to coming on with the people who would have had no reason to speak to me otherwise, but now I have the power and the leverage and I can trick them into being my colleague and friend. It's the best. This is what my whole channel is at this point. Just me wanting to hang out with the homies. Joseph Louis Valdez. Oh, wait. Is this me or you? The last one was short. I'll do it. Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
If you want. Whatever you want.
No. You go for it. Go for it.
Joseph Louis Valdez says, is always ironic how they never mention how many Catholic denominations train women to convince young boys to join their churches. Thank you for all you do and teaching me a lot. This is one of those things that I think I've seen you talk about stuff tangential to this, but there are other creators who are talking about it that I've always felt I really want to talk about this, but I'm not the person to talk about this because I'm a man, and we don't need men talking about what you could call toxic femininity or something like that.
Right.
But like the Mormon church.
Missionary dating.
But So my like little tiny clip for Mormonism is like the fucked up thing about the Mormon church is the patriarchy is represented by men. It's instituted and reinforced by women. Mothers are teaching their sons to be 100%. Dicks. Because fathers aren't even taught to really be that involved in their son's life. You just go and you provide and you do your church leadership role and you just be the person that your son looks up to. But your mother tells you what a dick to be. And it's this really like fucked up system where women have been convinced in Mormonism. And I think this happens in other places, in other religions too. In Mormonism, women have been taught to keep the patriarchy alive. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Oh, that definitely is the case with how I grew up. I think, I mean, that was my example. Like purity culture was taught to me by other women, not even really my mom, but just it was honestly the moms of a lot of boys that my first instance of feeling super shamed sexually was by the mother of 4 boys who had me wear an oversized t-shirt over my tankini when I was 11 years old and had nothing going on. And that was, that's how it works. They get you in on it.
I have an interesting question, too, that I think goes to the way we internalize purity culture. And this would be true among Mormons, even though I said the boys get a lot of it, too, unlike a lot of other religions. But this is where it's still different and worse on women, I think. So I'm wondering if it's true of you. Tell me, did you get more examples as a little girl of women you should be like or women you shouldn't be like?
Oh, that's a great question. I think definitely women I shouldn't be like. First of all, there's hardly any women in the Bible.
Right.
And a lot of them I was taught not to be like. And then, the majority of it was like, oh, this girl, that dresses like this, don't be like that. Don't be like your second cousin who got a divorce. Definitely that one.
This is the difference that I think almost across the board and why we see a culturally reinforced type of purity culture, regardless of religion. Men and boys are raised with role models they should be like, and women are raised with who they shouldn't. Boys are told, even when there are other flaws, which means that we teach people to not focus on the flaws of men, but do focus on what we are calling flaws of women. So it's like, be like your grandpa, who, yes, was an alcoholic, but he was a hard worker. Be a hard worker like your grandpa. Be like this man who this masculinity was great. Be like this man who, yes, he slept around, but he always made sure there was food on the table. He always provided. And then you hear what women hear, and it's literally, just don't be a whore like your sister. Don't be a slut like your aunt. It's not, hey, this thing about your sister does this music stuff. Great. Look how hard she works on her music. Be a hard worker like your sister. It's like your sister shows her ass falling out of her shorts. The slut. Don't be like her. Like, it's fucking really dark when you think about it. It's like really fucking dark. Yeah.
Yep. That is 100% what happens.
I go into my New York accent when I become a judgmental mother. I don't know if everyone noticed that. Don't be a whore like your sister. I become Bernie Sanders. The 99% of you sluts. The 1%
I would love to
of
hear
the role models.
Bernie Sanders say the word slut. That would be great.
He used to write erotic fiction. I bet there's a clip out there.
It's got it somewhere.
Our good old friend Liz Chris says $10. Instead of impressions, Jimmy could sing. Also, this show and Skeptalk are great. Heart. I used to feel like I would break out into song on shows often. I just haven't in a long time. One thing that sometimes happens is as I'm waiting, you didn't see it happen because I was taking a breath when you connected, but I'm like always singing to myself. And I think I was singing, what's this? Hello, darkness, my old friend. That song. I was singing that song while I was waiting for you to connect. And that was. I
wish you would have still been singing it. That would have been my introduction to hanging out with you, is you singing Hello, Darkness, my old friend.
You can tell a lot of people when they catch me in it think I was going to be embarrassed. And then I just get louder. They'll be like, oh, Jimmy, I'm here.
And then they're the ones that feel awkward.
And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people maybe. Fuck yeah. Well, it doesn't sync up. That's the only thing that sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, moving. Sorry, I'm adding things, but also trying to get to the next one. But we've got Saint Brush, and this is yours to read.
I love that it's $6.66.
I love that.
How does one learn the healthy dynamics of sexual and romantic relationships in a healthy and objective way? Purity really screwed with my head. That is a great question. Do you want to answer first, or?
I mean, I know that we create some content like that, the episode we did with Alyssa Lubitschek, but unfortunately it's seeking out. You have to do way more work to find the good content in this topic amongst bad content coming for you.
Right. Yep. There's a couple of accounts I'll actually tell you right now that I really appreciate, that have helped me a lot. But you do have to seek them out. As far as like relationships, because that's hard to learn healthy perspectives on relationships, there's Jillian Turecki. So it's JILLIAN She talks about relationships in a really awesome way. And then there's, let's see, as far as sexuality goes, I really appreciate Dr. Lori Mintz. So it's LAURIEMINTZ, and then go from there and you'll find other spaces. But I like going to women for those. I think there's some good perspectives there that we're missing from evangelical perspectives on sexuality and romantic relationships.
Yeah. And obviously I've got to plug, if you're still somewhere in the progressive evangelical world, my girl, God is Gray, Brenda.
Yes, Brenda. Her book is great. That's a great place to start with all of this too.
We talked about before she released it and when she was working on it and stuff, and she told me the title and I was like, what a lot of people are going to hear. And she was like, good. because the title is On Her Knees, and
Right.
and it was more of an on purpose, like not innuendo as in she's trying to get you to think of her in a pornographic way, but in a like embracing your sexuality side, not running away from it because something is scary because it's sexual. I don't know. I'm probably misread, but I'll probably have Brenda on, maybe even this show sometime in the future. She wouldn't really fit on any of the others because we can't say that she could be on like the atheist shows,
Right.
or this, even the skepticism shows. But yeah, we'll probably have her over for. God, I just love her so fucking much. Anyway. Amanda A says, purity culture made 11-year-old me so ashamed that my body caused men to sin that I never reported the years of sexual assault. Grateful for the work you do. Thanks. Yeah, that's another one of the things
sorry, Amanda.
We could have yelled that at what's his face about the this is what you're defending and advocating for, because this is too fucking common of a story of I thought the sexual assaults happening to me were my fault because I was causing the men to lust and sin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry you went through that. That's awful. And that is why we have to speak out against this and not sit there and be like, yeah, but hookup culture. Like, what the actual fuck?
Right. Fucking. And then by the end of it, he agreed what hookup culture actually is fine.
Yeah.
Like, fucking, if you can't define your terms to me.
Right.
Felix is going to call back.
Like I said, I don't think that he knew himself where he stands on a lot of that. I think he was just regurgitating values that he's been taught. Totally. Not even values, just ideas.
There's only a few more. I just want to make sure because we're coming up on 3 hours. First of all, has this been as fun a 3 hours for you as me? I hope it's been a good time.
I've loved it. This is awesome.
Great. Then we'll run through what we've got left here and call it a night. Robert Evans says, Jimmy or Eve, Iris wristwatch, Iris. Okay. Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch. I have to make the word Irish. I have to change the melody of the word to be distinctly different from wristwatch. And that makes it work. Do you want to try it?
I'll just copy you. Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch.
See, now try without doing anything melodious. Try to just do Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch.
It's going to just sound Irish wristwatch. Yeah, I can't even get close to it.
But I did just teach everybody, I hope, a trick when people try to do this thing. You just have to make it a melody and you have to make the notes contrast each other.
That's a good party trick.
There we go. Thank you for 100 more marks. What is this? What is this unit of? I feel like I usually know because I've looked these up so many times, but I'm blanking. Okay, fuck off, Google. What are you doing? Okay, here we go. Mexican pesos. Yeah, of course. Okay, thank you for the 100 pesos. Much appreciated. But with no message on it. We've got Mr. Monster. I think this is yours.
The way you destroyed that guy the other night and kept muting him gave me a boner, and I'm straight. Keep up the good work.
Technically, I believe that spelling is pronounced Boehner. I think.
I'm so sorry that I went with
Boner.
context.
Yeah. Isn't that how John Boehner spelled his last name? I don't know. I could be wrong. Back in the day. I didn't give you the boner one to read on purpose. I legitimately thought it was your turn.
It's okay. It's perfect.
Janice Hull said, thank you for calling out the harm caused by people staying in dysfunctional relationships or getting married just so they feel it's okay to have sex. I wish my intentions were as, I think they're thanking you because you called that out. Right?
Yeah. Right. Because that's, I would not have the story that I have in a good way. I don't enjoy that that's my story. If I had just not gotten married for the sake of having sex, that's what I was taught. That's what you do. To have a relationship, to matter as a human being, to be a sexual person at all, you have to be married. And that is so fucked up and resulted in a lot of abuse and harm in my life that I've taken years and years to go to therapy and work through, and still suffering the repercussions from. So yeah.
And by the way, for the record, when I was starting to correct myself, I am on that side of it. There's sometimes it's funny where I'll forget. When this topic came up, I was just fighting an illogical argument. It was literally, to me, like, it wasn't a standing up for one side or the other. It was, you're saying that this equals this. How?
And it's wrong, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting the easy ones. Radio. Oh wait, I skipped one. I actually skipped a not as easy one. Here, I'll go back and I'll let you have the easy one. Rastaman says, Rastaman wants me to say the same thing I think I was saying. This person was being insufferable, so I just started fucking with them on the show. And then at one point, Forrest was like, okay, Charlie, I'm going to give you, and it did the same thing as me, 1 whole minute to make your case uninterrupted, starting now. And I'd already muted him a bunch of times, and now started, and then there was silence, and then I popped in with, Charlie, you're muted again. Fuck you, Charlie. Fuck you. That was okay. We're gonna start the chimer now. Charlie, go. And then just me screaming it. Charlie called me mentally ill, so he did deserve it.
Oh, all right.
I mean, he's right. I am, but only 3 of these left. So if you all are trying to extend the show any further, though, I think both of us will also be fine with going. But there's only 3 left. I'm warning the chat. You've been warned. You can't complain if you were like, damn it, I didn't know. I was out of time. 666. Wait, no, I said I'd give you the easy one. This is the easy one.
1999 from radio. Is that how we're saying that? Edit.
I think so.
Boop. Thanks for the boop. Boop.
Population boop zone. Wait, what is it? Welcome to the boop zone, population you. It's from a meme that's on Instagram all the time, and you go and you touch your dog's little snoot. Yeah. I'm gonna boop your nozzle. What you gonna do? Boop. Anyway, Weirlemer 1138 says purity culture poisons even people who identify as progressive. Queer teens are bullying each other on social media over fanfic. Yeah, the concept of sluttiness and virginity all still are accepted even by secular progressive people in often cases, and these things are ridiculous.
Yep.
And stop calling each other mid. Sorry.
I pissed off a lot of people on TikTok by saying that virginity was a social construct. Of course, you're all men, so.
It's so stupid. And the concept of using horiness as a pejorative, I aspire to be a whore. How dare you? How fucking dare you? This one's directed to me, but I guess you'll read it to me?
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. $5 from Quagma TV. Jimmy, you ever do the Pioneer Trek reenactment? On day 2, they would make the sisters push the carts up a hill alone to make a statement. Blah.
Yeah, so I've done the daytime parts because of medical stuff. I never stayed overnight, but yes, I'm familiar with this, where they would do the see how hard what the men were doing for you was. And it was, I'm familiar. Wow. I did once stay late enough to meet up and make out with somebody while they were supposed to be sleeping, but that was man, I was like so on the cusp of like that age being where I was about to discover my sexuality with people, that like all of the things that you think are like conventional horny Christian teenager stuff, I'm so proud of so many of those moments, you know, feeling some boobies behind the seminary building. The best. I was a rebellious young man. Rose Northcott says, great show. I agree. One of the best, if you ask me.
This is fun.
And Logical Larynx, and this may be the last one unless people are getting in their super chats right now. Logical Larynx says, obligatory show extension. I have nothing to add. What's up? Eve, what's up?
Not a whole lot. I'm so proud of myself that I stayed up past my bedtime. That's how you know I'm having a good time.
Oh.
I'm
my little heart.
Such a baby, but this has been the best ever. Jimmy, you're amazing. And everybody hanging out in the chat and the callers, even the ones that everyone was respectful. And it was a good time.
Yeah. It's funny, with as frustrated as I was at Felix.
Right.
That call is such a useful call. And when we clip it, will be a useful clip. Right.
And these conversations are important. It's because people do have those thoughts and those ideas and those misunderstandings or whatever we want to call it. And until they say them out loud and can have them confronted, then it just stays how it is. So I appreciate it.
Will you remind everyone where they can find you?
Yeah. So I'm Eve_was_framed basically everywhere. So on Instagram, TikTok is where you're going to find most of my content. And then Twitter. And I think I even have a Facebook page that I don't know how to use and don't really do much on there. So unless you guys tell me why I need to, that's probably not the best place to follow me. but
Twitter's fucking awful.
Eve_was_framed. I haven't been active very much the last few months, but I'm getting back to it on all of those platforms. So you'll be seeing new content in the coming weeks.
I insist. I'll be bothering you for it if you don't.
Okay, good.
Be on you. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Remember to be back here tomorrow. Matt Dillahunty and Mandisa Thomas will be holding down the fort at the Hang Up. On Thursday, we will have, I believe, Katy Montgomerie and a special surprise guest, which means they're trying to get somebody, but we haven't confirmed it yet. Then on Sunday, Matt and I will be doing the Sunday show. Let me see if that another show I'm thinking of is next week, because I think it might be. We'll be doing the Sunday show. And then that night, we'll do like a meet and greet hangout on Zoom with anybody who is a patron. Then next Monday, fuck, I don't know who's on Skeptalk next Monday, but next Tuesday on this same show, big surprise for everybody. I think a bunch of people are going to freak out right now. I will be joined by Owen Morgan. We have not collabed in years. It's been like
that's
2
gonna be
years.
Such a good show.
Owen, the Jehovah's Witness and the Mormon, walk into a show and we're going to take calls. I am so fucking stoked. It's literally been like 2 years since he and I have directly collabed. I did produce the show he did with Matt, but we hadn't. So that's next Tuesday at the same Batman time in the same Batman place. Fuck yes. Eve, you're going to see the outro go. Don't leave. A lot of people don't know not to leave. I'll talk to you after the show. I'll give you the last words. Tell them what's your parting wisdom. Did you want to do the freestyle rap? Whatever you want.
I'm going to save my freestyle rap for next time. So you guys come back. No, I think we talked a little bit about purity culture, and I think for those that haven't heard about purity culture, because I know there's a lot of atheists that didn't grow up this way, I think it's something worth looking into because it has permeated society in a really damaging way, whether or not you were raised evangelical, whether or not it's outright religious in the shape that it's taking. So I think just educate yourself more on it so that you can have the conversations that Jimmy and I are having with other people. That would be my closing statement.
Your parting wisdom. Awesome. Thank you, Alex, for screening. Thank you, the mods, for being here. We will see you all tomorrow. Do.